NMLS number 65084, equal housing lenders. Woo!
Today's episode of What Happened When Monday with Tony Schiavone is brought to you by brandnewhouse.com. Of course, we've been telling you for the last few weeks about how you can get your very own brand new house with as little as just $500 down. And the great thing about a brand new house is not only is it new, it's custom to you. So you get to pick where it is and what it looks like, from the color of the brick to the flooring, the countertops, the kitchen cabinets, the door handles, the paint, whatever. It's all your choice at brandnewhouse.com. You can also own your very own brand new house for roughly what you're paying in rent right now. And again, you don't need a down payment. You might not need a down payment at all, but many families can get a brand new house for only $500 down at brandnewhouse.com. The best part, though, is everything is brand new, so there's no repairs, and your new home comes with a warranty. And no matter your budget, you can own a brand new house at brandnewhouse.com. So what are you waiting for? Go to brandnewhouse.com right now.
I'm not fucking leaving. The show goes on. This is my home. They're gonna need a fucking wrecking ball to take me out of here. Welcome to WHW Monday. Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson.
Jim Crockett First Arcade, 605 NWA. TV title, Cajun Omni, the Bunkhouse Stampede. Flair and Horseman, Garvin, Bogey, Magnum, Dusty, Express Tag Teams. Turner, Bodden, Mid-South Joint World Championship Wrestling.
Talking about the great years of World Championship Wrestling, the NWA, and Jim Crockett Promotions.
Tony and Friends North, they win. Look, Schiavone's back again. World title split off, center stage, Bischoff, Disney, Hogan, and Nitro. New World Order and the Crow. Thunder, Russo, Arquette, Champ, Vinnie Mac, simulcast. Tony's back with Conrad, not your classy podcast. Watch along, try not to laugh. Lowest rules can't pass. This wasn't the initial plan. Tom Zigg's a good-looking man. Klondike Bill, make a chair. Tommy, you come over here.
What happened when?
WHW Monday. And now, let's go to the ring. And here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When Monday on the MLW Radio Network, and it is WrestleMania Monday. Tony Schiavone, how are you, kind sir?
Hello, Conrad, and yippee-ki-yay, Spring Stampede 1997. What the hell?
Man, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to this. We're going to be doing another watch along. So if you haven't already, fire up your WWE Network, press mute, and enjoy as Tony and I try to make you laugh. Lots of fun stuff going on this week. But before we press play, I feel like we should put a bow on last week. What was the feedback you got from Clash of the Champions 6, Raging Cajun?
The feedback I got from Clash of the Champions was at the end with our old commentary ninja stuff. Had a lot of good feedback on that.
Yeah, the closing bit last week with you doing lots of cameos and our little video montage of sorts, except in audio form, just like they did on Clash of the Champions, I feel like stole the show. And I got some good feedback about her. Good old JR appearing on the show as well.
Yeah, and I got a lot of, I think the most feedback of talking about the last bit, but really the most feedback was, and this was on your suggestion, from Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not going fucking anywhere. That was tremendous. Okay.
What's funny is a couple of friends and I had joked that we should have put that in the wedding episode, but then when it actually got submitted by a couple of listeners, I thought, man, we're on to something here. We need to do this. Like if people are coming to that same conclusion, I thought it was a really fun way to start the episode last week. We're really proud to be here with you again this week. Of course, it would have been cool, Tony, if you could have came to WrestleMania and hung out with some of the boys and done a live show, but of course, fucking baseball. We did have a suggestion that we should make that. Sorry, I can't. I've got baseball. Like that should be a t-shirt.
Look, Easter came a little bit early. So this is the first time, really, the first part of the minor league season coincided with WrestleMania. It didn't last year, and that's why I had a chance to be down in Orlando. So I'm on the minor league circuit now. And while you guys were enjoying New Orleans, enjoying all the festivities, enjoying all the things that happened to you, I was watching a game from miserable Norfolk, Virginia. How about that?
Well, I can't say that I'm envious, but I do want to sort of catch everybody up. You tweeted out some rather interesting pictures last week. Of course, the show came out on Monday morning, but Monday evening or maybe Tuesday morning, you tweeted out a couple of pics that a lot of people didn't think they would see. What did they miss if they weren't following you on Twitter?
Well, I did go to the live event, WWE Raw at Phillips Arena in Atlanta. Went there to see my friend Arn Anderson, and went backstage and hung out. Got to meet some guys that I never met before, like John Cena, like Braun Strowman, and got to talk to a couple of people. Got to see the Hardys and talk to them, and got to talk to Arn, who is my friend, Dean Malenko, and we're going to be seeing Dean coming up a little bit later on in this show. Hadn't seen Dean in a long, long time. Steve Armstrong, Mike Rotunda, Fit Finley, saw all them. So I got to, Jamie Noble, I got to reconnect with the guys that I hadn't seen Dean Malenko. The Dean Malenko that I remember is Dean Malenko we're going to see on this show. I hadn't seen him nor Wall Street or Rotunda since they all got old. And I joked when Arn said, "Come on back to the producer's room." And I walked back in the producer's room. I said, "Is this the producer's room or the old folks' home?" I wasn't sure because everybody is aged, as you know, so have I. But it was a lot of fun. I got to witness firsthand the what happens backstage on a small scale. I didn't go to the gorilla position. I didn't go into Vince's room. I got to see Paul Heyman too. I didn't walk around. I just kind of stayed in one area, but I got to witness what goes on backstage at a Raw live event. I was going to say Raw taping, but it's a Raw live event. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of chaos back there that I really wish that every wrestling fan had an opportunity to see it up close, because I feel like if they did, it would answer a lot of the questions they have where people say, well, why would they do this? And so when you sort of see the, controlled chaos behind the scenes, you're like, fuck, man, they're just lucky to get this on the air every week.
Yeah, I know. It's, and there's a lot of pressure, but it's like anything else. I was talking to a kid named Mike who was there. They bring in a lot of extra talent just in case.
Right.
And this one kid they brought in, and I was talking to him, and he said, I have a friend of mine who came with me one time, and he works on Ozark on Netflix. And he said, this is just like Ozark. So what I took away from that is that wrestling live is just like any other entertainment production.
Absolutely.
A lot of rewrites, a lot of chaos, a lot of things going on, a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure, man. I saw Kerwin Selfies, who was the director, hadn't seen him in a long, long time. And so just a lot of pressure. Saw Triple H, got to talk to him for an extended period of time. It was great to see him. We haven't talked in a long time.
Whoa, hang on. If you saw Triple H, I got to ask, did you say, hey, motherfucker, put me to work? I want to introduce some of this Mid-Atlantic stuff.
I did not. I didn't say that. I again, and this is one of the real sore points I had, because you may know that there was a number of events I was going to go to, maybe some with you, to go backstage, and I had cold feet
every time. And the reason I had cold feet every time is I do not want to be seen as a guy hanging around looking for a job. I don't want to be seen that way. But Triple H came up to me, said, "You doing okay? You staying busy?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I saw you did a couple of things on the network a couple of years ago." He said, "We may have you back do some more things. We'll talk about it sometimes." And I wanted to say, well, here's my number. Here's my email address, but I just let him walk away. It's okay. As if to say, yeah, bullshit. But that's what I wasn't there for. I wanted to see Arn. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I got to see some old friends. And
really old friends. Boy, has everybody aged, including me. So it was fun. It was great. I'll never do it again, but it was fun.
How many of the boys, Paul Heyman or any of the others, said they listened to the podcast or mentioned the podcast to you? Jamie Noble listens to it all the time. And he's kind of in charge of all the producers. That's right.
Jamie is. And earlier in the day, the radio station I work for, 92.9 The Game, had Jeff Jarrett on. And I was doing some work in the back, and Jeff was on the talk show because, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And they had him on to congratulate him for the Hall of Fame. And he said he wanted to talk to me on the phone, picked up the phone, Double J, said, "Man, I'm digging your podcast." So that's the first thing he told me. So
how about that?
Yeah. So a lot of fun. But again, it's my, and I also saw a young kid named Tommy Carlucci. I work with his dad. His dad has worked for the WWE for many years. And now his 26-year-old son works in the back as like a producer, a kind of a stage manager type as well. Got to see him. So it was hot, man. I mean, the Phillips Arena was sold out and didn't get to see Vince. To be honest with you, I wasn't looking for him because I know that he gets in television mode. So once television started, I could have walked up to the gorilla position and said hello, but I didn't. So that was my Monday. That was my Monday. I was there at the go home, what they call the go home episode of Raw right before WrestleMania.
Well, and let's go home right now and let's get to Spring Stampede 1997. Hopefully by now you've got the WWE Network fired up. And Tony, if you want to go ahead and tag in our tag team partner here, we'll let her give us a countdown and we'll get fired down on April 6th, 1997, Spring Stampede 1997 in the process.
All right, sweetheart, if you're ready, and I'm not so sure if she's ready. Oh yeah, she's ready. Okay. You never know. I got to get away from her to make sure. If you're ready, go ahead and give us the countdown, if you will.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you
Come on.
step on my blue suede shoe.
Countdown, please.
Well, you can do anything but stay off of my blue suede shoe.
Countdown, please.
Blue. 1, 2, 3. Or do you want it the other way? 3, 2, 1. Hit play.
Howdy, partner. Welcome to Spring Stampede. It's another Spring Stampede. Diamond Dallas Page and the Macho Man Randy Savage. You need DDP yoga. I don't need shit. And the Steiners to go up against the Outsiders. We got a space with the Hot Bar. Also, Medusa in a woman's heavyweight title match. I don't think that's right. I think they missed that one a little bit. The World Television title, Prince Iaukea going up against Steve Regal. Dean Malenko, the young version that I remember, going up against Chris Benoit. And then we got, and that'll be, of course, for the U.S. heavyweight title. And then we got a clubbering match, four-way corner, long before the WWE did one every week. The Giant and Lex Luger going to get up against Harlem Heat. And, of course, the winner will go on to face the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. It's all a part of Spring Stampede, and it's all coming to you from Tupelo, Mississippi. Take a look at this crowd, Conrad Thompson. As hot as we are, beating the WWE each and every week, we still just can't get out of the South. What in the fuck was Gary Juster thinking? Take a look at our crowd right now. Many of these people have grown up, probably a lot uglier than they are. Many of these people are probably dead. Tony Schiavone, and I'm joined here by the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and, of course, to my left with a sunburn, or at least I think that just maybe a whiskey nose on him right now. That is Bobby the Brain Heenan. We got a lot going on here today, gentlemen. We want to talk a little bit about Spring Stampede. And as you can see, my chair is not as high as Bobby Heenan's. What the fuck is that all about? Let's get Wendy Turnbuckle over here and get her to readjust my chair. Okay, Wendy. Wendy has crawled under the desk right now, and whoo, she is readjusting me. Readjusting my chair as I talk right now. Wendy, if you will just stay right there and readjust my chair, I want to talk to these two these two guys as we go along here. We got great title matches coming up. We got a lot on the line here tonight. But one thing we have found out, that Scott Hall is a fucking no-show. He's a no-show. What the hell? Are the inmates running the asylum around this place? I mean, Dusty, when you were booking, yeah, he's nodding it. Yeah, they are. When you were booking, shit like this never happened. When you were booked in a main event, the guys would show up. So, Dream, tell me, where in the world is Scott Hall? What in the fuck is going on here tonight? And how are we going to have some sort of 2-on-1 or 1-on-2 here tonight here at Spring Stampede? Talk to me, Dream. Well, let me tell you what, when I was booking, I didn't give a shit because I never booked worthless motherfuckers. Scott Hall is one of the best workers in the entire business, but if you don't show up, you know what I mean? He ain't worth a shit. Well, Bobby the Brain Heenan would agree with all that, I think. But I'm only worried about leaving the arena quickly. We packed the car. We got our suits in the back. We're not worried about the show. We just want to get out of Tupelo as quickly as we can. That's all I care about. All right. Also with us tonight, Lee Marshall. How about that for someone in the back? And Lee Marshall's going to try to run down the story tonight here at Spring Stampede. What's going on with Scott Hall? It sounded something like that.
By the way, good job. You just went on like a 4-minute rant there. Didn't even take a deep breath. You're back at your old self, my man.
Well, thanks. I tried to time this stuff out. I talked after the crowd shot. I talked for 1 minute and 25 seconds straight without letting Heenan or the Brain talk. That was probably wrong in hindsight. It was, I guess, Meltzer would have said, is Tony Schiavone hogging airtime? I don't know. Or his minions would have told him to say that.
No, he didn't say that. So, hey, one of the things I wanted to point out here is we see Ultimo Dragon come into the ring, and the graphic on screen and on the screen behind him, like the video board, he's again called Ultimate Dragon. I mean, if you had to make a determination right now, was it Ultimo Dragon or Ultimate Dragon as far as the way WCW wanted to refer to him?
Well, I would say it would be Ultimate Dragon, the way the WCW wanted to refer to him. But also, and I don't know what we called him here. We probably called him Ultimate Dragon because that's what we saw. I just think that may have us being lazy. No one double checked the video font before it went out. Craig Leathers was the director.
Yeah, I love that we shit on Craig every week. Eventually, when you run into Craig again, he's going to punch you right in the fucking mouth.
I don't give a fuck because anybody that worked in the backstage area knows this fact about Craig Leathers. And here's what it was, as Mike Tenay has joined us here. Craig Leathers and Annette Yoder attempted to take over WCW. They attempted to take it over. Ask anybody who worked in the backstage area.
And when you're saying take it over, you mean from a production standpoint, from a booking standpoint?
From a booking standpoint, from a production standpoint, they wanted to run the company.
And
they were the ones that got Kevin Sullivan fired, I'm sure.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
And probably the ones that drove Terry Taylor crazy and got him fired too.
So in your opinion, Craig Leathers and Annette Yothers were shit disturbers with a capital S.
They were political manipulators and maneuverers.
Well,
I guess we're saying the same thing. I don't know.
Well, I never heard the Kevin Sullivan theory that they were the ones who got him fired. Do you think they just used sort of the rumor and innuendo that existed amongst the boys and sort of stoked the fire and then got that rumor mill cranked up and then he was out of there?
I'm not so sure. I also can tell you this. They really had Eric's ear.
Right.
And they had a lot of power in the company, both of them together. And it got that way because, well, first of all, Craig was in charge and Annette was extremely hardworking girl. Annette really busted her ass. I got to give her credit. She really, really did. But, they
became a tag team of sorts.
Yes, they did. Ask anybody who worked in production.
Were they, did they have any sort of other relationship outside of work?
Not that I was aware of.
Okay. Craig
was married. She was not. If they did, I'm sure there are people out there to say, oh yeah, they did. But people always thought that. Look, I was on Terry Runnels' slash Boatwright, Marlena's podcast recently, and we didn't talk about this, but we have talked about it before. Everybody thought I was having sexual relations with her.
Well, how was it?
Back then? It wasn't. Stop. I knew you were going to ask me that.
What?
You shit disturb.
No,
I didn't have. So, but because you were friends with a girl or because you worked with her, everybody thought you were having sexual relations with her. So,
I didn't mean how was it like the act. I mean, how was it that people drew that conclusion? Because you were hanging out in the makeup chair?
Yeah. And because we went out to lunch a lot and we were friends, and I helped develop Alexandra York, the character. And so, yeah, that's what they thought back then. But that was not the case.
I feel like we should mention here, we are talking over a phenomenal match. One of my favorite matchups that we got to see in 96 and 97, Ultimo Dragon and Rey Mysterio Jr. This was what really set WCW apart from everybody else, in my opinion. Who had an opener like this? If this were on a WWF pay-per-view, we would have Taka Michinoku and Brian Christopher here. No disrespect to those guys, but I'd rather watch these guys all day long. And so while you may look around at certain points in this pay-per-view and say, where's Sting? Where's Hulk Hogan? There is a lot of great wrestling on this card. Is there not, Tony?
There's a tremendous amount of wrestling on this card, to the point to where, fans are saying again, Ric Flair's not wrestling on the card. Hulk Hogan's not wrestling on the card. Scott Hall's a no-show. He's not going to wrestle on the card, but top to bottom, especially in the bottom, some pretty good wrestling matches.
Really
and certainly these two guys put on a great show, and they knew each other quite well. And the fans that normally wouldn't be into this kind of stuff, you can see they're kind of getting into it at ringside.
Well, it's a competitive match. You've got certainly a Southern wrestling crowd here. We're in Tupelo, Mississippi. And I feel the need to mention here that we just covered Uncensored 1996, and that too was in Tupelo, Mississippi. So they got a pay-per-view in March of 1996 and now in April of 1997. What do you think was so attractive about Tupelo as a pay-per-view town?
Something you would have to ask Gary Juster. And again, Gary Juster was the arena booker back then, and Gary worked out these deals. Tupelo was always a good house for us, would always have fans that responded to what we did and reacted to us and knew our guys. The problem was it was always in the South, and Eric wanted to get out of that South, get out of that Southern mindset that we had, or being painted Southern. I mean, so that's one thing that Eric didn't care about at all, but it was always a good venue for us. Tupelo was also a very good wrestling town. We opened this brand new building, and certainly they responded, and they're kind of reacting here too.
It's very much a WCW town in that I don't believe the WWF has ever done a pay-per-view in the state of Mississippi. I might be mistaken on that, but I don't think they've ever gotten a pay-per-view, and I'm sure someone will correct me, but outside of Raws and SmackDowns and things like that, I don't think they've ever had a major WWF card. Meanwhile, you guys were running pretty big pay-per-views. I mean, you had everybody and their brother on that Uncensored 96 card, and here we are again with some great action in 97. And this is really sort of the wrap on WCW. You mentioned a minute ago some really good matches towards the bottom when you sort of referenced top to bottom. I feel like a lot of people sort of believed that WCW had the best undercard, but the WWF would put on the best main event as far as in-ring action. If you had a Shawn Michaels or a Steve Austin or a Bret Hart in your main event, you were probably going to get a better work rate, quote unquote, match than you would if you had a Hulk Hogan or a Giant at the time for WCW.
That's true, but not always does work rate bring in the money. The storylines bring in the money. Interesting, good finishes and interesting storylines bring in those things. So I agree. I agree. The fans were just like, there's fans over on the right just really into the Ultimo Dragon. And I'm sorry, the Ultimate Dragon. We are in Tupelo, so make sure we call it the Ultimate Dragon. And there's a kick that Daniel Bryan made famous, as we saw in the back. Yes! Or what do we say in Japan? Hi!
Oh, I love you for that. I love you
Hi!
for that.
Hi!
I feel like we should remind everybody that this is a sold out show here. You've got 8,356, so 8,356 fans on hand. 7,428 of those were paying customers for $107,115 at the gate. It does a 0.5 buy rate, and this is actually the second Spring Stampede event. A lot of people assume that this is the first one because you guys didn't do one in 96, but in reality, you did one in 94,
right,
which had a phenomenal Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat match as the main event, but there wasn't one in 95 or 96. Why do you think you guys moved away from Spring Stampede and then brought it back here in 97?
I think the reason is that back in 97, now we started to do a lot more pay-per-views. So we wanted to add pay-per-views, and this was one that we added. We would go to Slamboree the following month. And now we were starting to do more and more and more pay-per-views because we were becoming more and more of a television company. Listen, and you can give us numbers. I know I got some numbers down in front of us about, how the ratings were and how the gates were in attendance and what the buy rate was for this, a 0.58 buy rate. That's still a cash cow.
Right.
0.58 buy rate's cash cow. So we were doing a lot more of the pay-per-views on a monthly basis, and that's why we went back to Spring Stampede. But I remember a lot about Spring Stampede in that 94 was the last pay-per-view that we had before Hulk Hogan arrived. He would arrive in Bash at the Beach of 94. So it was kind of like, I don't know, it kind of like is Spring Stampede of 94 reminds me of before Hulk Hogan, after Hulk Hogan, BHAH, you see. And now we're into, let's do a lot more pay-per-views. And this is 1997, so we've just had a sold-out pay-per-view right back a couple of months ago that we talked about in January, the worst pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah, and let's talk about where business is at the time because, from one year to the next, you guys are doing phenomenal business here. And I want to run through the numbers right fast. Your average gate in April of 1996 was $40,230. Just 1 year later, you're up 123%. You're going to go from 40 grand to nearly $90,000 in just 1 year. And the attendance is way up too. You go from 3,790 fans up to over 6,000 fans.
I hate to interrupt you, but we do have to go in the backstage area here, Conrad. We do understand that Lee Marshall has been following the Scott Hall, Kevin Nash storyline, and we do understand that Lee Marshall is in the backstage area. So Lee, hold on a second, Tony. I do have to go take a shit. And hang on a second. We understand someone is in the bathroom. Guys, open up. I got to go. I'm going to be on camera here in a few moments. I got to take. What the fuck are you doing here? What? I got to take a shit, man. So take off. Get out of here. There's no toilet paper, dude. No toilet. What the? No fucking toilet paper. Jeez. Okay. What? I've been on camera the entire time. What the fuck? Go back to you. Now, I'm sorry, Conrad. What were you saying?
Yeah, the storyline is really progressing here with Scott Hall and sort of this is art imitating life, I guess you might say. We'll get into that in just a moment, but business is way up. That's essentially what we were laying out there as far as the number of fans who are showing up, what the gates are. Ratings are still roughly the same, but all the financial metrics are way higher. Are you starting to feel like the success of the NWO is really what WCW needed? Because you've sort of told us before that as soon as you came back, you sort of walked around the rest of your WCW career with this sense of impending doom. Some of that had to be dissipating by April of 97, surely, right?
You know what? It was, but there was always something in the back of my mind. Listen, and I think it's a well-worn story here. Something in the back of my mind that said, you know what? We're eventually going to fuck this thing up. And I was right. And when I meant I never felt good about Turner Broadcasting owning this company. I never felt good about it. And I always thought that when it came right down to it, if you got a guy who is the New York City Vince McMahon and wrestling is all that he does, with the exception of the World Bodybuilding Federation or whatever he had at one time, and of course the XFL. But if wrestling is all he does, and you got Turner Broadcasting that has CNN, that has all this other stuff that they're doing, and all these stations, and a baseball team, and then a hockey team, that basically, when push came to shove, they were going to get rid of us. And that's, woo, what a tremendous move that was. Went from a moonsault drop kick and connected. That takes tremendous amount of timing on both athletes.
Nearly a 15-minute match here that if you're going to watch one match this week based on something talked about on a podcast, let me recommend it's this one. Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio in your opener. Dave Meltzer loved it. He called it several levels above anything else on the card. He gave it 4 1/4 star. He called it an excellent match, better than their Hogwild pay-per-view match, but not as good as their World War III match. And he says they toned down the high flying greatly, but showed they're good enough with the mat work now that they can do that and still have a great match. And when I watched this the first time, I thought, man, Tony's going to dig this because they're not just doing high spot. They are actually, integrating some other stuff.
Yeah, they're trying to tell a story here. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that, to tell a story about, instead of just doing a high spot. But then when you tell a story, the high spots really work. 1, 2, good reversal. 1, 2. Also a little tip of the cap to the very exciting, very tremendous referee, of course, who's since left us, Mark Curtis, who in the vein of Tommy Young, you had to react to all the bumps and everything that was going on.
It's one heck of a match, man. I can't recommend it enough. We're going to be getting close to the finish here, and we didn't want to sort of mock this and make fun. I want to recommend strongly that you go check this one out. Unfortunately, we've got one of the best referees of all time in the ring with us, and unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But you see just a top rope Frankensteiner there from Ultimo Dragon. And I don't know that anybody did those moves better than these two guys. And I think, we always talk about how young guys are at the time. And I feel like a lot of people overlook how young Rey Mysterio was here. Do you want to sort of venture a guess as to how old Rey Mysterio was here?
Rey was probably 22 here.
Well, look at you, kind sir. You're all over it because you're exactly right. He's 22 years old and on a pay-per-view. I mean, the amount of pressure that you must have to be performing at this high of a level, not just in front of a sold out crowd, but all the folks who are watching online. I mean, it really is a testament to him. And there you go. Hurricane Rana pinning combination. I don't know that anybody did it better than Rey when he would give you the Hurricane Rana and then turn it into a pin. 1, 2, 3. You guys called it a roll up victory, but whatever it was damned impressive.
Rey Mysterio Jr. could do a lot of great things, and it took two to have a great match. And, I think at 22 years of age, I think he always kind of shut that stuff out. In other words, the how big the event was or how many people were there. He was just a worker in the ring. And I really think Rey Mysterio Jr. would have given a great match in front of 300 people compared to 5,000 or 6,000. This
is the rubber match for these two guys, because they had Mysterio win at Hog Wild. World War III would see Dragon win, and now here Rey gets the win. But the very next night on Nitro, Ultimo Dragon is going to win the television title.
All right. We will continue with this story and go back to the matches, but we do understand Lee Marshall back. All right, guys, come on. I realized how stupid I was. That was not a shitter. That was actually Kevin Nash's. Kevin, open up, Kevin, because I got Scott Steiner out here, and he wants to talk about this menu that he's got at Shoney's. I don't want to talk to you. You gave me a rib about toilet paper. Hang on a second. God damn it. They didn't pay their tab. They didn't pay their tab at Shoney's, you motherfucker. They left. They didn't even. They had 3 hot bars. 3 hot bars. That comes to $27.87. So pay it, you big piece of shit. We ain't paying shit, Steiner. Okay. Spit on you, hot bar. Oh my God. He punched in the face with Aqua Velva. Well, you stink, you son of a bitch. We wanted to freshen you up a little bit, but if you're going to cause a stink, here, I got $27.75. I'll give you myself. He didn't pay his bill. He didn't pay his goddamn bill, motherfucker. And he can do it. Kevin Nash got a lot of money. And he needed to tip my waitress as well. Boy, I tell you what, he had a hell of a temper back then, didn't he?
Let me just tell you, we are always taping at night from now on. No more morning shit for you. You're a fucking grouch in the morning. You are fired up this evening. I love it.
Well, I'm a grouch all the time, Lois would say. It's just because I know my life's coming to an end. Woo!
Well,
but that'll pick me up.
There you go.
Well, yes, sir. Patting on her chest. Damn right. Oh, yeah. I'll go right there, baby. One of my great friends in the business. I don't think there's any question. A lot of respect for her.
I saw her this weekend. Are you jealous?
Go straight to hell.
She was down at WrestleMania. She gave me a big hug.
Go straight to hell. Did she ask about me?
No.
Well, then go right straight to fucking hell.
She said, it's so great to see you. I'm glad there's no one else here.
Motherfucker. You know what? This may be my last year of baseball. Yeah. If I could hang out with you slap dicks and see Medusa and see Marlena and well, look, I walked away cold turkey. Oh, now wait a minute. Oh, Akira Hokuto. Hada. Sonny Ono Hokuto. What has he got on there?
Listen to you.
Okay.
The Akira Hokuto figure is someone who didn't get a lot of time in WCW, but I've always been fascinated by her because it feels like, she had good matches with Medusa. She is the ladies champion here. I guess they're going to call her the ladies heavyweight champion. Can't believe that's a real thing, but you're reminiscent of what they're sort of doing with Asuka with, her coming out in the colorful outfits, but they're positioning her as a heel here, which is more traditional, which is totally opposite of what they've tried to do with Asuka in the WWE. And of course we saw her big crowning moment at WrestleMania. What did you think about Akira Hokuto as a performer here in WW or WCW and as the champion?
I liked her. I liked her. I thought she was a good performer. She didn't need this little guy next to her, but I thought she was a great performer. And I thought she had a very colorful look about her. And not only that, she was a very attractive young lady. And listen, don't tell me that. And I'm sorry, you can paint me as a sexist all you want, but take a look at what goes on in the WWE. Don't tell me that being attractive isn't important when you're talking about women's wrestling. It is.
Well, it's important when you're talking about men's wrestling. If you're going to
Of course it is.
If you're going to be a top baby face, they want you to be a matinee idol. You need to be a good looking dude if you're going to be a top baby face most of the time.
Right. Sure. But here's, Akira Hokuto and Medusa.
She's got her entrance robe off now, and now you see her actual wrestling garb. And this is sort of what I was talking about. This outfit is very reminiscent of Asuka to me, just with all the different colors. And of course, her being Japanese, of course, but it's weird because these days you can be Japanese and be a babyface like Nakamura. But in these days, back in the 90s here, you were pretty much going to be a heel if you were Japanese, were you not?
Oh yeah. It's almost if we never forgot about Pearl Harbor, right? I mean, crying out loud.
I know that sounds silly, but it almost is like, oh, well, she's Japanese. She's definitely a heel. So we see Medusa here with some punching combinations, and that's not something we saw a lot in wrestling, but Medusa's wearing it out, and she's going to have a wardrobe malfunction at one point in this match. Tony, are you ready for that? Can your heart handle it?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. But I'm not going to be watching the match much any longer. Look, can I venture for a moment here? Do you think there has been any woman wrestler that has had the buildup of Asuka?
I think they tried to, a lot of people online joked that they tried to make Asuka like the female Goldberg. I don't know how effective that's been because Goldberg was really a phenomenon. And I mean, they put all of their marketing behind him and the fans really bought into him. And when Goldberg was around, it was appointment television if you were a casual fan. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case with Asuka. But yeah, I mean, they've clearly tried to push her very hard, but they did once upon a time with Charlotte as well. Charlotte went a whole year on pay-per-view undefeated.
Right.
Which was a big deal. And
you have a lot more experience in that because again, I I walked away from the business, and it wasn't until the Royal Rumble of 2017 that I started watching the business again, thanks to you, son of a bitch.
Well, let me get your opinion then. You know, as someone who obviously knows a lot about wrestling, but hasn't been paying much attention to the product lately, or up until lately, what do you think of the way they've positioned Asuka?
I think it's a position that, wow. I'm sorry. What were you talking about here?
I forgot.
I think it's a position that she cannot reach. In other words, I thought I compared Asuka, and this is not a WWE podcast. Let's leave this up to Bruce Pritchard. But I think she's like and I think I've said this before. To me, she's almost like Glacier. She had all this hype, and I know she wrestled in NXT, but she had all this hype leading up to it, and we never saw her wrestle. It was just a lot of vignettes, a lot of videos. We can't wait till she gets here. Can't wait till she gets here. Now, my question is, I know she does a lot of good stuff. Is she living up to the hype? I mean, obviously they're putting her over, got this big win streak, but is she living up to the hype is my question.
In your opinion, the answer is no.
Yes. It's no.
Sonny Ono wearing out Medusa's head here. I mean, that's some of this stuff is just sort of weird to watch in hindsight, but Medusa has a top malfunction. So she takes it off, spins it over her head, throws it, gets a pop from the crowd. And then immediately Akira Hokuto ties her up in the ropes and is really working over the knee. And Sonny Ono can't wait to punch Medusa in the head.
Yeah. Well, Medusa, she, not to say that she liked this kind of stuff, but she liked a very physical type matchup. She did. She's and then she's kind of shoves him off like a water bug. Water bug. Oh yeah.
Listen to you with these accents today. You're just unbelievable.
Yeah. You're putting me over for some unknown reason. I don't know what it is.
I'm not putting you over worth a shit. Like, I don't think you're any good at commentating at all. Right. I mean, which is why we can only be enjoyable here if we're talking about boobs and stuff like that, which is the format. Yeah. I mean, really the name of the show should be Boobs and Whatnot.
Yeah. Boobs and Whatnot. Yeah. Medusa. Oh, my favorite shot of the night. And they got off of it. What? And they got a 2 count. Well, Sonny Ono's up. No, Mickey J said, oh yeah. Kick his head in. That's what say. Go ahead and kick him. Go ahead and kick him. And now we're going to see Luna Vachon come in. And this is going to be kind of odd because she didn't really even kick and ran away. We didn't get a good shot at her. And we'd have Lee Marshall say, that's Luna Vachon. That's Luna Vachon. A 1, 2, 3. And still the women's heavyweight champion of the world, Hakura and Sonny Ono.
They're telling a good story here. And Sonny Ono is, the prototype for a chicken shit heel manager.
Yes, he is.
And they find a way to keep the belt on her and not put the belt on Medusa. And you sort of introduce a new character in the process with Luna Vachon. And of course, Luna, I think most people would remember, is going to show up in the WWE and do really big stuff over the next year, at least compared to what she does here. So here's some highlights from the match, Tony. Let's go ahead and get you to call those.
Kicked him right in the freaking moosh, so to speak, or as they would say, moochie moochie in Japan, which, by the way, is how you answer the phone. Luna Vachon right behind the knee, kicked her. And then, of course, the heavyweight champion covers Medusa and gets the 1, 2, 3. And the winner is Hokuto. Is that how we pronounce your name?
Listen to you.
Okay.
This match gets 2.5 stars from the Observer. They only went 5 minutes and 13 seconds. And Meltzer would write, good work, but too short and a crap finish.
Yeah, thank you, Dave Meltzer. And with that in mind, are we going to go back to another match here? Or are we going to go back to Mean Gene? We're going to have another match here. We're going to be going back to Mean Gene. He'll have with us, by the way, stay with us. He'll have Harlem Heat in a very famous interview, and also the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And here's one of the true greats. And I'm sure he likes this match. He's going to have a whole lot better than he had last year at this time against Fit Finlay. And this is Lord Steven Regal.
Let's talk a little bit about Akira again, because she's going to vacate the title on June 15th because she leaves the country. She's out of here. Why was she not long for WCW, do you think?
Well, I don't think that she enjoyed being over here on a full-time basis, and I felt that she probably could make a lot more money and do quite much better overseas or back home.
At this time, you know, in America, women's wrestling was not being presented the way it is today.
Right.
And she probably did have an opportunity to be in a more featured spot over there. But just like a lot of the guys, you know, these days think, hey, well, I need to go, you know, sort of get my stripes in Japan. That probably works two ways, you know, where guys want to leave Japan and travel to Mexico or travel to Canada or travel to America and work some big shots in those territories just to sort of get it on their resume.
It's changed a lot lately with independent wrestling getting involved in Japan and Ring of Honor getting involved in Japan. And I think that's probably why, maybe, would you agree with this? This is why Vince has been pushing Nakamura and Asuka.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's definitely running a bit of an experiment, and we saw, you know, what happened at WrestleMania, and there was quite a build up to that. And there was a lot of people wondering like, hey, is he doubling down here? But then you saw, you know, business as usual with the Roman Reigns and a Brock Lesnar title match. And, you know, in the end, I guess time will tell, how they translate. But I always sort of look at the casual wrestling fan. And I look at a guy like my dad, and he's familiar with, you know, all the big name wrestlers, but he probably doesn't know, you know, some of the more young upstarts. But a guy like Nakamura, if he sees him wrestling a guy like AJ Styles, the minute they start to talk, my dad would say, oh, what is this shit? Not AJ Styles, but Nakamura. Like,
right.
I think my dad has an expectation that guy would have a manager and that guy would, you know, be running his mouth for him. Sort of like what we grew up on in the 80s, where, you know, if you couldn't really connect with the audience with your promo, then you had a little help. You had somebody do that with you.
Well, Sonny Ono's available, I'm sure. If Nakamura needs one, you got connections, some bitch. Why don't you check into that?
Why don't I
get
check
Sonny
in?
A job?
Get Sonny a job.
Get Sonny a job. You get 15%.
I don't think I can do that. No.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that you just assume I have connections.
I know you got connections. You're the most connected person I've ever been around in my life.
Oh my gosh. Listen to you.
And that tells you how shitty my life's been.
Thanks a lot.
Anyway.
I appreciate that. Hey, so these guys are going to go 10 minutes here for the television title. Prince Iaukea is defending against Steve Regal. Meltzer would write, Prince again got no reaction coming out. Let's fast forward to the end. After the match, well, you'll see what happens. He gives it a 1.5 stars. He doesn't really love this one, but I don't think Dave was a big Prince Iaukea fan. Did Prince Iaukea have any sort of, we've talked about him a lot on the show lately. Is there anything even remotely interesting about this guy?
With the only exception is he's barefooted and he is of Samoan descent, right? That's the only thing interesting about him. Kind of like Roman Reigns.
I meant,
Samoan descent.
Oh man, a lot of people love you right now. I mean, as far as, you know, real life, do you remember, you know, anything interesting? Because we saw him in a few different incarnations. I think we've covered before that Dean Malenko trained him, and he was known as Prince Iaukea, and the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea, and then of course just the artist. So he hung around for a while. You know, any fun little stories you can share with us about Prince?
The only thing I could tell you about Prince was he was a team player, big time. And that's why he so much reveled into the change from Prince Iaukea to the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea, and to the artist. And, you know, that was all a Vince Russo thing, trying to, you know, obviously with Prince, but he was a team player. He would do anything at all to try to be important, to try to be substantial, to try to be a part of WCW. And I always admired him about that. You know, there was a lot of kids that worked in WCW, young kids that worked in WCW that didn't have the attitude that he had. A lot of them. And I think Prince getting this little run here was kind of like, okay, kid, you've done everything we've asked. You're a hardworking kid. You're a good guy. You're a team player. We're going to give you a little push here and see where it takes us. It obviously didn't take us far, but at least I never thought it was wrong about giving guys a shot who were good hands, as they used to say. And good, listen, the term good hand in the wrestling business really meant a lot.
Yeah, I would agree. And he certainly, I mean, we've talked about it on the show. I was a fan when they tried this. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm glad they're willing to take chances, because a lot of times these days you hear wrestling fans say, oh, it's just the same old shit. Well, Prince Ikea was not that. They were trying something new, and hey, fuck it. He wound up being television champion, and he got on Ready to Rumble. So good for him. It's hard to believe though, that he had his last match in 2015. So just a handful of years ago, before he hung up the tights. Let's talk about the Scott Hall situation. We sort of touched on it a little bit earlier. Keller would report the bickering and finger pointing behind the scenes in WCW has become a major issue for management to deal with. The main problem over the past couple of weeks has been between Kevin Nash's faction and Kevin Sullivan's faction. Nash apparently believes Sullivan feels threatened by him and is sabotaging his angles to make him look bad and trying to break up him and Scott Hall as a team to divide their power as a unit. The heat was over the Steiners versus Hall and Nash match that was barely getting promoted on the March 31st Nitro. Yet a long segment was dedicated to Ric Flair and Roddy Piper, for which there was very little planning and thus didn't make much sense. Sullivan apparently believes Nash is showing some of the same tendencies he did as part of the clique in the WWF that led to major problems in 1995. Last week, Sullivan called Bischoff to alert him to Nash, saying Nash threatened him on a phone conversation or in the hotel, and Bischoff called Nash and asked him about it, and apparently said Sullivan wasn't clear-headed enough to know what he said. Bischoff set up a special meeting last weekend before the pay-per-view to try to settle matters between Sullivan and Nash. Chat me up here. What do you remember about this Nash versus Sullivan feud that was reported in the dirt sheets?
I can only remember as far as being on Kevin Sullivan's end, because Kevin Sullivan was booking, and I was a little bit closer to Kevin than I was, Sullivan, that is, than I was to Nash. And I know he was feeling the pressure of not only being a booker, but also feeling the pressure of the many different factions that was going on. And the fact now Scott Hall had been missing for like 3 weeks and he had a lot of problems. It just kind of all got to Kevin Sullivan, and Kevin just kind of, I don't know if snapped about it is the right term or not, but he was just very upset about what was going on. And so they all got together and had a meeting, and, you know, down the road, months later, years later, they all started working together quite well, because Nash was kind of involved in booking back later down the road. So I think it's something that had been brewing, but I think they cleared it up very quickly, at least from Kevin Sullivan's standpoint, they did.
Talk to me a little bit about the Scott Hall situation here, because he's been gone for about 3 weeks, dealing with several different personal issues, but WCW kept promoting him like he's going to be on the show, but then of course he's not.
Right.
When did you guys know that he wasn't going to be here, and what can you speak to about his personal issues at the time? You know, whenever somebody says personal issues or demons, they usually mean drugs or alcohol. We would assume this is an alcohol issue here at the time.
Yeah, it was an alcohol issue. And look, he had been missing, and it had been 3 weeks of problems. I think going ahead and booking him and promoting that he would be on the show was one of those cases to where Bischoff was, and even Kevin Sullivan were thinking, we think he's going to make it. We think he'll be here. We think he'll at least come out and make an appearance and do something, because it was important back then. It's always been important that even if you can't perform, be it an injury or a personal problem, that you at least show up to the crowd and not do a no-show. So this was wishful thinking. And I didn't even know until the night of, or the day of, we started the meeting, that he definitely would not be there.
Somebody who was a little questionable about being here for Spring Stampede or riding in a car together. It's Steve Regal, who's in the ring right now, Chris Benoit, and Nancy Sullivan. Allegedly, they were coming from the gym to the hotel when a drunk driver hit Regal's 4-wheel drive car and rolled over twice. Nancy was banged up a little. Benoit was bleeding from the hand, and it's going to open up again in the match here, but they were all seemingly okay. Do you remember hearing about this wreck? I mean, this is a pretty crazy story to hear about right before a pay-per-view.
Oh yeah. And as a matter of fact, I talked to Nancy about it because she was really banged up and she was really walking gingerly and really concerned about it. I was thinking about this and I was thinking about how to frame it or say it, but because of what has happened with Nancy and Chris now, moving forward and what we know has happened, but they were lucky they weren't killed that night. And that's kind of an odd thing for me to say.
No, I mean, it's real though. I mean, at this point, what was the situation like with Benoit and the Sullivans?
At this point, I thought it was all a work at this point, but it was real life, but I thought it was all a work.
Speaking of works, you guys ran a piece in the National Enquirer, or maybe you had them run it, or maybe you planted it, or maybe they just made shit up. But allegedly in the National Enquirer, they run a story that says Rey Mysterio Jr. is actually dating Jennifer Aniston. And the dirt sheets are going to suggest that you guys were actually trying to get him some publicity to push him big time. And you weren't really sure how to promote him since he was a very unique performer, but he was smaller in stature. So maybe if you could make him a handsome devil and get him some tabloid headlines, maybe that'll work. And if we know anything about Rey Mysterio, it's that you would co-sign that he's a damn good looking man.
And apparently Jennifer Aniston knew that as well. Didn't you hear that rumor years ago? I'd heard that.
No, I hadn't heard it. I just saw it in the National Enquirer.
Yeah, well, of course, that makes everything true. And then Prince IK gets the win, but Steve Regal's going to get the heat here afterwards. And so this was like a 1.25 star match from Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, not a huge fan of it. Give everybody a time cue. Make sure we're on the same track here.
Okay. Well, we're at 41-11, 13, 15.
No, we're not.
44-16.
We're at 44. You said 41. You mean 44.
Oh, I'm sorry. 44. Sorry. 44-21.
Doesn't work.
What do you do?
Tony, give him a time cue. Don't worry about what it says. Make some other shit up. Fuck them. Fuck them.
Oh, absolutely. Fuck them. Oh,
that's
God.
The best.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So there's your winner. It's Prince Iakea. And now we're going to go to Mean Gene Okerlund in the backstage area before. Oh, my God. He hit him with the belt. He hit him with the belt, motherfucker. All right. Sorry about the time cue. And you thought it's good working with me late at night, huh? 45:03, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Tony, give him a time cue. Let's make sure we're on the right track. Okay. We're going to make some shit up.
Well, that's what this motherfucking podcast is all about, making shit up. Isn't it?
I mean, it's hard to argue.
Yeah, you're not kidding. That's what it's all about.
I feel like we're just waiting for, with bated breath here for this Mean Gene promo, because this is when you really shine. But we're not going to get it. We got to see more fucking replays of this Prince Ikea match. This is not a long match, but at this point it does feel like it just will not fucking end.
Yeah. All right, your winner is Prince Ikea. Now let's go back, ladies and gentlemen, to the one and only Mean Gene Okerlund as we take a look at the crowd shot here at Tupelo in the Tupelo Coliseum. All right, thank you very much, Tony Schiavone. And before we even talk a little bit about what is going on, remind you that it is red hot in World Championship Wrestling. As a matter of fact, it is so hot in World Championship Wrestling, smoke will be coming out to my left. Look at that. Holy shit. The WCW hotline. Remember, 1-900-909-9900. It's It's 1-900-909-9900. We'll tell you where Ric Flair exposed himself in Tupelo this week. And I say this week because, as you know, everywhere he goes, the Nature Boy Ric Flair exposed himself. Remember, calls cost $1.59 per minute. Kids, get your parents' permission before you call. But call. And you know why we should call? Because we're going to cuss at you. We're going to give you 4-letter words that you may not have said even before then. You can use them at church. Use them in front of the priest. Use them in front of the preacher. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me here to Tupelo, Mississippi, the one and only 13-time heavyweight champion of the world. Here he is, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. We hope he's got his clothes on. Yes, he does. Woo! The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, making his way out the Tupelo. Now, I want to remind everybody, Nate, you are not going to be wrestling here tonight. And that is very upsetting to many of your great fans. But the fact is, back on up here. Back on up here there. Thank you very much. The fans love you regardless. You're over as hell. And pretty soon you're going to be coming back to the ring. I want to talk a little bit about you. Talk a little bit about the World Heavyweight title. Talk a little bit about you chasing Hollywood Hulk Hogan and about the problems that exist with the NWO. Is it true, Nature Boy Ric Flair, that the ratings have been the highest they've ever been because of the NWO? Mean Gene! Woo! It's true. Last night in Tupelo, I took off my clothes and went parading from the birthplace of Elvis all the way down Main Street to the Starbucks 3 blocks away. They still serve me hot coffee. The fact is that I'm the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and I got a big announcement that I've got to make. My oldest daughter has made a crackpot decision. She is going to marry Conrad Thompson.
Oh, my.
That's right. Conrad Thompson, who, as we all know, is the podcast king of the world. And I've told Conrad, listen, I am going to pay for the reception. Woo! And I am going to make sure the check clears. Woo! And also, let me tell you this, Conrad, you need to treat her like she's a lady, because if not, I'm going to come live with you. Ha ha ha! I'm going to come live in your basement. That's right. And you're going to have to serve me margaritas. No, wait, I can't drink those anymore. You have to serve me Mai Tais. Well, I can't drink those anymore. Well, I'll take a Diet Coke. Also, I'd like to also say that I do understand that you motherfuckers have been selling T-shirts with Flair hit it first, with Cat Bath, and when I broke Wahoo's leg. Let me also say, I need some money for those. All right? You understand? You know, and I know that it was me that made them famous. Also, motherfucker, I take an XL. Now, also, Mean Gene, but wait just a second. What we're supposed to be talking about wrestling, you dumb fuck. What in the world are you talking about? T-shirts and podcasting and drinking Mai Tais and what the fuck? Well, you see, Gene, I've taken way too many bumps in my day, and right now I'm to the point to where I don't give a fuck. Okay, I just don't give a fuck. And here's the deal: my good friend Arn Anderson, we had a long-time relationship. It kind of went a little bit haywire, but now I'm living with a fine lady named Wendy who's taking care of me. Also, I do want to say this to you, Tony Schiavone. Call me. I'll never answer your phone calls. But, yeah, I know you don't answer phone calls. That's right. I don't answer phone. I won't answer Schiavone's phone call. I told him, come over and see me. Sit down. We'll watch some TV together. We'll get reconnected. And every time he calls, no, I'm not there. I'm not going to answer it. I'm not home. That's the way it is. So I fucked you over, Schiavone. Every time you call me, I've never called you back, and I won't call you back. And you and Conrad I'm getting upset. Take off the fucking coat. You and Conrad and your fucking podcast and your fucking T-shirts. Only thing I need to say is you need to treat my daughter right, because you dumb son of a bitch, are a member of the Flair family now. That's right. Flair family, that means that father-in-law can call on you any day of the night, any weekend. It doesn't matter. You will be at my beck and call, because I'm the Nature Boy, and I and the 13-time, soon to be 16, 18-time, whatever it is, world heavyweight champion. And I'm going to style and profile all over your ass at the wedding. Woo! Whew. I'm out of breath here, Conrad. So there it is.
We can roll credits right now. Show's over.
Okay, let's roll credits.
Show's
don't want to roll
over.
fucking credits. No, we don't. Show's not over. We don't roll credits. I just want to let everybody know that I really love Conrad. He's a nice kid. He takes care of my daughter. But now, Conrad, you are going to take care of Papa Flair.
Pop, pop.
Woo! Papa Flair. That ain't your boy, Eric Flair. Yes, sir. And he will be exposing himself tonight at the Marriott in Memphis. Now let's go back to the ring and our broadcast crew. I wouldn't have said that if that's not common knowledge. Now you do know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna.
It's out there now. I didn't
Part
put
of the
it out.
family.
I didn't put it out there. He did, but it's
I
out there now.
I know he did. You know, it's fun. It's just a backstage story. I knew you'd been dating Megan, and it was real deep kayfabe. Okay, and then I go online one time, and Flair's announcing that Conrad Thompson's dating my daughter. I'm thinking he does not know how to kayfabe shit. He doesn't. Flair always ran off of the mouth. He didn't know how to. And now here we are, 30 years later, and he still doesn't know how to kayfabe. God Almighty.
Hey, can you sing the Public Enemy theme song?
You want to give me a beat?
I mean, I can play the original, like their real, like ECW theme. Do you remember that one?
No, I never wanted watching the ECW stuff.
This was the real one.
We started, Turner Home Entertainment picked it up, and I remember Steve Chamberlain looking at me and saying, "You're actually using this music on pay-per-views and TV shows?" So we've been using it forever. He said, "Well, we can't use this shit." They would just use that music and didn't give a shit back then.
So this is the original, the ECW version of Public Enemy's theme music. And now we'll play the WCW version. You ready?
I guess I'm ready. Go ahead.
That's some low rent.
All right, here we go. We got soon our Hall of Famer, Jeff Jarrett. Great to see him inducted in the Hall of Fame. Would you agree?
Should Deborah have went in the Hall of Fame before anybody else?
Well, if you, it depends on what wing of the Hall of Fame you're talking about.
The one down there.
Down where? You know. If there is a wing for, I mean, look, Kid Rock's in the freaking Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
And I have nothing bad to say about Kid Rock. But what the fuck?
So
Drew Carey,
unfortunately,
what the fuck?
both of these guys, Public Enemy here, have passed away now. Do you have any good Public Enemy stories you can share with us?
Johnny Grunge. Johnny was. I always thought Johnny lived the gimmick. I thought that Johnny reminded me of someone that should have been in like a grunge fucking band, and he was just always disheveled, always kind of out of sorts, and it all seemed to me like Teddy was the one that was more lucid than the other. And it's not that I didn't like Johnny. I thought Johnny was a good guy, but I thought Teddy kind of ran the show there.
These guys are going to go 10 minutes and 42 seconds.
Wow, that's 10 minutes too long.
Meltzer would write, McMichael was brought back to earth as far as how far he really has to go when working with guys who can't expertly carry him. It was mainly a 4-way brawl, but not much of one. In the end, he gave it a 1/4 star. I feel like we should also talk about the hotline, because what we just saw with Mean Gene was actually Gene doing a hotline plug. And he talked about a new clique, a new gang in town. And then when fans called the hotline, it's actually Mark Madden and Jeff Katz doing a segment here where they talk about everything but the tease until they announce they only have 15 seconds left in their allotted time. And they joke that they saved the big news until the end, and then briefly mentioned that Benoit and Malenko might form a new group. And then the segment ended. And the dirt sheets would write it was meant as a satire on Okerlund, but the joke was really on callers who paid $12 to $15 for really no news at all.
Right.
Was that sort of commonplace? Do you think that, the hotline had really become a deal where it was like just carnyism at its best in wrestling?
You know what? I never at all gave the hotline a thought.
Right.
But I always thought that Gene tried to make it mean something. And he also talked about, the automobile wreck, that we had talked about earlier. He promoted that. It was going to be on the hotline as well. So I really think that Gene tried to make it legitimate. And the reason Gene tried to make it legit? Because he was getting a part of it. He was getting paid extra for the hotline and the hotline doing well. That's the best way to have someone put their heart and effort into it, is to give them a little bit of money. So I always thought that Gene tried to make it legit. I think the fact that Madden and Katz, when they try to make a spoof on Oakland, were trying to go into the business for themselves, and it was wrong to do, because it's shit like this that will get people stopping calling the hotline. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And allegedly, Okerlund was making like $500,000 from this damn hotline. So it's good for business, but at the same time, it does feel like you're just sort of rubbing their nose in it. Let's talk a little bit about Jeff Jarrett here, because his big weekend was this past weekend. Of course, on Friday night, he became a WWE Hall of Famer. A lot of people thought, hell would have to freeze over before Jeff Jarrett would go into the WWE Hall of Fame. That being said, who would you be surprised to see they put in next? Like, is there a name that's out there that's not in that you think, well, Jarrett may be in, but there's no fucking way they're putting this person in? Who would that person be?
Honky Tonk Man.
And you say that based on?
Just because of, Wayne has always been a kind of a heat-seeking missile with everybody he's been around. I mean, I always liked him, but he's been very vocal about Vince and the WWE, and since he's left, and I don't know how much of the stuff Vince listens to, other than what you do, but I just don't know. I always thought that the Honky Tonk Man would not be a guy that they would want in the Hall of Fame. So.
He inducted Coco Beware in 2009, and allegedly the next year they offered him a spot in the Hall of Fame, but he turned it down. And
really?
I think the rumor and innuendo is he didn't want to sign a Legends deal. He felt like it was maybe too one-sided and it didn't pay him enough money and maybe cheapened his price on the indies. So he turned it down.
Whoa. Now you're telling me that to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, you have to sign a Legends deal?
I think once upon a time, the deal was they wanted to bring those guys in, have them, come in. I don't think this is a big secret. They make roughly $5,000 and they get a class ring, like you would get when you graduate high school. And, you get a little bit of TV time and they have some speech writers work with you, but normally they try to spin that appearance into some other opportunity. So they'll sell some new merch for you. Like Jeff Jarrett just had a new WWE shirt come out, and they might be doing a bit of a documentary on him. I'm not saying anybody's told me that. I'm just saying this is normally what happens with the Hall of Fame. But they also try to figure out a way to create like a new action figure or two, and they might even throw you in the new game. So you do have new opportunities beyond just the $5,000 payday that people sort of snub their nose at and the class ring. You do have an opportunity to have other revenue streams come your way.
So in other words, you don't know if it's still, boy, this is really interesting. And I don't want to take away from this wonderful half-star match, but this is very interesting. You telling me this to be a member of the Hall of Fame, you got to sign something, right?
Yeah, of course. If you're going to appear on WWE television, you're going to have to sign a release, and you'll probably have to sign some tax forms.
Wow. You think the guys going to Cooperstown have to sign something?
Yes.
What do they have to sign?
I'm just guessing that in order for them to be featured, they are going to sign some stuff. I mean, I don't think it's just, hey, show up about 2:00 if you want to. Okay.
Well, that's a very interesting story. And anyway, so about, I don't know, maybe the one that you will never, ever, ever see in the Hall of Fame is going to be Tony Schiavone.
Oh, you say that, but no, you're right. You're never going to.
No. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
No, I agree.
I'll do like a Wayne Ferris, and I'll say no.
No, you won't.
I'm not signing away shit. I'm not signing away shit, man, because you can get the t-shirts at
LoisRules.com.
Absolutely. And we got a bunch of brand new t-shirts. The Slapdick Nation is a brand new t-shirt. The Schiavone Drip. And I've got a bunch of those running around the house, at least I used to. And of course, LoisRules.com. But still, the number one t-shirt is
Tommy Young.
Yeah, easy way, hard way. That's another great shirt. Go to LoisRules.com. And like I said before, the wedding may be over, but the t-shirts are still red hot. And thank you very much for believing in me and believing in What Happened When Monday here on the MLW Radio Network.
And there's still time left, ladies and gentlemen. You can use the promo code MANIA and get 20% off of everything at LoisRules.com. You've just got to do it by noon today. So hopefully you're listening on April 9th, Monday, and hopefully you're able to take advantage of that 20% off code. Use the code MANIA at LoisRules.com.
Speaking of Mania here, Conrad, they went through a table, of course. They went through a table. Table was their gimmick, and it was Johnny Grunge went through the table, and here Jeff Jarrett's going to pick him up.
So you've had a week to sort of marinate on the Ric Flair drip. Have you had an opportunity to go Ric Flair drip, go woo on a bitch?
Hey man, if something will make me money, I don't give a shit.
You know? So what would we say? It would say Tony Schiavone drip, make them go what on a bitch? What would it be? Because you can't do woo. Got to come up with something new here.
Tony Schiavone drip, make them go. I don't know. Make them go
on a bitch. I mean, glass on a boat ride, right? Tony Schiavone drip, make them go on a bitch. Right?
I'm with you, buddy.
I mean, I think that's a good call. I feel like we should get Matt Coon on the case and see if he couldn't help us with a little musical ensemble soon.
Really?
Yeah. Tony Schiavone drip, go on a bitch.
Well, I thought we were eventually going to do some sort of rap song for this great podcast we got here.
Well, this is just as good as the Tony Schiavone drip, because everybody knows that the Tony Schiavone drip makes them go on a bitch.
I'm sorry. I'm paying attention to the great finish of this match here because fans know it's coming. Oh, Johnny. Oh, God. Are they going to use the Halliburton briefcase? Steve's a little off there, wasn't he?
Oh, my God. What a wrestle crap moment this is. You've got to go watch this shit. Please show a replay of that. I really need them to show a replay.
Yeah.
It's rare that I ever agree with Matt Coon about anything, but Steve Mongo McMichael, what the fuck?
That was brutal, man. And there's the 1, 2, 3, and poor old Jeff, the Hall of Famer, is going to do the job here.
Here's what's unbelievable to me too. You see Rocco Rock climb not to the top rope, and he came off the top rope a lot in his career. No, he climbs to the bottom rope with the Halliburton and hits Jeff Jarrett in the back and then drops it right beside Jeff Jarrett. So the referee has to slide in and make sure not to hit his hand on the briefcase as he counts 3. What the fuck is this?
Well, it looks like Teddy's best years were behind him by that time, don't you think?
It's just unfortunate that, you've got some talented workers in there. Public Enemy, were over like Rover. And I know that sounds silly, but they were in ECW. Paul Heyman had booked them to a point where Eric Bischoff was convinced these guys can do something for us. And Steve Mongo McMichael was certainly limited, but he was a big personality and a big name in sports, and they're trying to do what they can. But then you've also got Jeff Jarrett, who's just a phenomenal worker. And man, they just cannot put together a match here. And obviously between the two, Rocco Rock is the better worker, but man, just leaving the briefcase right. Look at this. The referee has to make sure, I don't want to hit this foreign object here. An unbelievable finish. What'd you think of the table that they used here, where not only was it never mind. Let's go to Mean Gene.
Thank you very much, Bobby the Brain Heenan. As you can see, there's a little bit of squirt jism on my tuxedo. Well, we'll talk about the WCW Wrestling Hotline one more time. We have now got Mark Madden and Jeff Katz out of the fucking way, and we are going to give you some straight shooting shit. Remember, my paycheck depends on this, guys. 1-900-909-9900. Call now and make sure you're a part of all this. That is the Wrestling Hotline. I want to bring in now Sister Sherry. Come on in, beautiful. Keep on coming in. And Harlem Heat, Stevie Ray, and Booker T. First of all, Sherry, I want to talk to you just a little bit about what we got coming up. We got your two guys in the ring against Lex Luger and the Giant. The winner of this four-corner match, or fatal four-way, whatever you want to call it, will go on to get a world heavyweight title shot. No one really believes Harlem Heat's going to get that shot, but it's going to be a chance maybe of making Booker T an established star. Sherry, talk to us. Have you had anything to drink or anything before this event started? Well, Mean Gene, let me tell you something right now. I got my two guys here, Harlem Heat and Booker T, and what you're getting ready to see right now is one of the great interviews of all time, an interview that is going to have people talking for a long, long time. Booker T, Stevie Ray, together they make a team. They make Harlem Heat, but tonight, Giant and the total package Lex Luger, we're coming after the world belt. All right. With that in mind, let's talk to Booker T, who is obviously the kid that's going to be an established. Let me tell you something, Hulk Hogan. And I want to let you know something right here. You can say and do what you want to do, but when I win this match, I'm coming after you, sucker. I'm coming after you because, as my brother would always say, suckers gots to know. And another thing I need to say before we go, this belt's going to be mine, Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm talking about? Beep, boop. Wait a minute. Did he say exactly what I thought he said there, Stevie Ray? Did he just use the N-word, Stevie Ray? Well, Gene, let me tell you this. Suckers gots to know. And suckers gots to know, yeah. So we're going to try to cover up him using the N-word here and talk about the match we got coming up. As we know, between my brother and I, my brother's a pretty damn good worker, and I'm the drizzling shits. But that's okay, because we're teammates, and we're brothers, and we got Sister Sherry with us, and it is up to our game a little bit. Now, I'm going to keep talking while my brother here gets it out of his system that he said the N-word. All right. We are not going to talk to you, dumbass. We're going to talk to Sister Sherry, who obviously is laughing a lot about what is going on here. Gene, after we win tonight, I'm going to hack up this dress. Woohoo! Watch out. And I'm going to go partying all around. And we're going to make Booker T ashamed of what he had to say. One more thing I got to say. I shouldn't have said the N-word, Gene. I'm very sorry, but I just got excited. But let me say, I said it. But in about 15 years from now, Vince McMahon's going to say it to me. All right. Thank you very much, Booker T, Stevie Ray. Oh, this clusterfuck is over. Let's go back to the ring. And let's go back to you, Schiavone, Brain, and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. I thought that was quite a moment, didn't you?
Well, I've always been curious, like, what's the deal? Are you, when this goes down and you hear him say that, are you listening live? Do you realize what he said right away? Or what are people saying? What's the feeling? What's the mood?
Well, two things here. Number one, sometimes I did listen, and sometimes they were talking to me in my ear, and sometimes I couldn't hear what was going on. But I remember this happening. I also don't remember anybody saying anything to me. In other words, I don't remember a producer in my ear saying, try to ignore what he said. Because I was going to ignore what he said.
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't going to take something like this and run with it because it was a bad mistake. And the worst thing you can do to bad mistake is to, elevate it.
Which is what we do here on the show.
Well, right. I mean, look, my whole career's been a mistake, and so we've elevated my whole career. So I don't remember. No one said anything to me, and I remember hearing this, and I think no one said anything to me, Conrad, because they just weren't listening in the back.
Right.
They weren't. They had too much going on. They had absolutely too much going on. We did not have a good continuity person at all.
Did you talk to Mean Gene after or Booker T about what he said?
No, did not. We scooted. We did our regular, we're getting out of town and gone. It was, it's
an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. You can make a big deal out of it and make him feel worse than he did. And then of course, I think you remember I don't know if you remember what Vince did and when he walked by him.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And I'm not so sure that was a play on that one or not.
This is the famous promo that has sort of become legendary. And it's one of the reasons that I'm sure people wanted to hear this one, this particular spring Stampede. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you. You know the rest. You can see immediately that he regrets saying what he said. It was live. He knew he'd messed up, but what are you going to do? It's like a baseball, man. When it's out of your hand, it's gone.
Right.
And,
live.
The home video version, they actually edited his voice to say sucker. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, sucker. But on the network version, it's still there. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess if Vince McMahon can say and get by with it, anybody can, right?
Booker has said this was his most embarrassing moment of his career, and he's just totally caught up in the moment, and it slips out. And, when we asked him about it at our live show in Vegas, this past year or earlier this year, he said, listen, I'm from the street, and if we're getting into a real altercation, I'm going to talk like I normally would. And I got in that mode and I said some things that maybe I shouldn't have, because that's how I would talk if it was, legitimate beef. And he assumed at the time he was going to be totally blackballed for it. But then Hulk Hogan comes up to him and says, not to worry about it. And that's probably something that a lot of guys, given the power that Hogan would wield, you would wonder, hey, not only am I going to have to worry about what Bischoff says and what Turner says, but I probably need to make sure Hulk's okay, right?
Yeah, but in hindsight, it's a fucking pay-per-view, Conrad.
No, I agree.
All right? I mean, it wasn't WCW Monday Nitro.
Right.
It was a freaking pay-per-view, and I don't get what the big deal was. I really don't, if there was a big deal about it. I know he was embarrassed because, Booker T's a pro, but he really shouldn't be, because the reaction in his face was one of, even though he had shades on, one of horrification, but it didn't bother me at all. So,
of course,
but then again, I say fuck on this show all the time. So obviously a slippage of a word is not going to bother me.
We've got a phenomenal match going on in the ring. It is a little weird, because unfortunately, I think everybody except Dean Malenko involved in this match has passed away. Chris Benoit,
Yes.
Nancy Sullivan, and our referee here, Randy Anderson, no longer with us. But this is an incredible card, man, because just a few minutes ago we had Rey Mysterio and Ultimo Dragon, and now we've got Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit. You guys were putting together some really competitive matches here.
Well, we had two of them that were competitive here so far, really. But anything that Benoit did, anything that Malenko did, I always thought turned to gold. Benoit, just subtle stuff here, still selling the leg as Malenko's on the outside. So that's good, realistic shit there that I think sometimes guys in the business forget about. They're thinking about the next spot. They're thinking about the next high spot. And they're not thinking about, oh, should I just kind of sell what happened to me. I think that takes away. Of course, the fans are different, here in 2018 than they were back in 1997. But Dean Malenko could do absolutely anything. I mentioned that I was backstage with the WWE at Raw, and I talked to Dean, who is still one of the funniest men that I've ever talked to in my life. We were talking about his father and how much, I respected his father, who was Professor Boris Malenko back in the day when I was a fan of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And Dean just have a lot of respect for him, man. Dean was one of those guys that wasn't the greatest talker in the world. We called him the Iceman. He was serious. He didn't have a great overall promo, but he was like a Chris Benoit, that his talking was what happened in the ring. And I don't know if we're ever going to see another crew of guys like Mysterio, Benoit, Malenko, Jericho, those guys who were in the cruiserweight division, and of course went up to the U.S. title division as well, ever again in the sport together. Eddie Guerrero together in the sport.
Scott Hudson was starting with you guys around this same time as an announcer. He's going to be working the TBS main event show, and he's taking over Chris Cruz's spot. What are your memories of working with Scott Hudson, Chris Cruz? How does this deal come together where he takes Chris Cruz's spot?
I did not have that much dealing with Chris Cruz, and Chris was kind of a standoffish guy. Did not like him. Just didn't know him that well. With Scott, it was a little bit different. And there was a couple of things that had happened later on down the road that, first of all, Scott was a big fan and truly one of the great guys that I've ever worked with. And I think if you go fast forward to some of these events and take a look at our last couple of pay-per-views, Scott Hudson and I worked together. And I think Scott and I had a genuine respect and admiration for each other. And I think it came across with the way we worked together. A great guy. However, that being said, there was a part of me that when Scott Hudson first started working for us that I was not too easy about or too keen on. And that was because, we used to go to Center Stage years ago. And remember Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce when they wrestled for us?
Right.
Scott was in a group of wrestling fans who were smart fans who used to cheer every time Tex Slazenger, or every time that Shanghai Pierce got in, and stop cheering every time that Tex Slazenger got the tag in. And I thought that wasn't good for TV. So he was a part of that crew. And I didn't really appreciate that as someone who worked behind the scenes. That being said, once I got to know Scott very, very well, I realized that number one, he was a great announcer. That number two, he could do a lot of great things. And number three, he legitimately loved the business and just respected the business. And, he's a FBI agent. I've talked about that before. Or he's a federal agent. I don't know if he's in the FBI, but he's a federal agent. And he had that job, and this was like a part-time job for him. As we move forward, there was a time where Eric Bischoff brought Scott Hudson in to replace me on WCW Monday Nitro for a time. I don't know if you remember when that happened or not. And Eric did not smart me up to that or not. We showed up in somewhere in Iowa. It may have been Cedar Rapids, Iowa, or somewhere. We showed up in Iowa. And we were going to do Monday Nitro, and Eric said, "Oh, by the way, Scott Hudson's going to replace you tonight." And I said, what the fuck? And Eric said, "I just think you're burned out." So Eric made me, and this was 2000, I think. Eric made me take a vacation for a week. I ended up taking the family to Disney World, or the boys to Disney World during that time. But yeah, I liked him a lot, and I still very friendly with Scott today. I think he helped me out. I think his genuine excitement for the product made me genuinely excited for the product when we were working together, when things were going down the shitter. And that's all I got to say about that.
lots of folks excited about Dennis Rodman signing with WCW just a few weeks prior to this. And we've talked a lot about him on recent shows, but once upon a time, ESPN Sports Center addressed Rodman's WCW deal, and the hosts are sort of joking about Rodman wrestling. And they said something like, if you do connect on a punch, you get fined here. And they referenced that Rodman signed with a rinky-dink federation or something instead of saying WWF. Is that sort of the way everybody felt about WCW? You know, that from the outside, if you weren't WWF, it was just something else. It didn't have near the cachet, so to speak, that the World Wrestling Federation did.
Well, yeah, at that time, but as we moved forward, of course, it meant every bit as much. Getting Hulk Hogan with us started to turn the tide a little bit, and then doing the crossover things, with Rodman and other guys also made it seem that way as well. It's funny, isn't it, Conrad, how the media, the sports media today, and it's because I guess the guys who are reporters now grew up during this era, but how they really turn a lot of attention to wrestling now and respect it on every level.
Right.
It never ceases to amaze me when, we announced that I would return to wrestling on MLW Fusion. It was the news was broken on Sports Illustrated, for crying out loud. What the fuck?
Shout out to Justin Barrasso, our main man with the plan for Extra Mustard. And we appreciate all the coverage that we get from Jimmy and Richard and Justin. Those guys are always looking out for us. They're big podcast listeners. They appreciate what we're doing. Yeah.
Thanks, Justin. It's just amazing. But yeah, back to your question. Absolutely. If you weren't the WWE, and of course, you know what? We weren't the New York market.
Right.
And that was that.
That's a lot of it.
That meant a lot. Yeah. That meant a lot.
I guess we should talk about the match that's going on here. We've sort of talked about it before. It's kind of weird to have fun with a Chris Benoit match. Malenko's going to go to a no contest with Benoit here. So Malenko's going to retain. And here's what Meltzer would write. Benoit appeared to have dropped some weight and was bleeding from the hand almost the entire match, a remnant from an auto accident earlier in the day. What they did was solid, but this match was a huge disappointment considering the talent involved because the booking never allowed them the chance to really pick up the excitement level of the match. The best spot was Benoit doing a one-arm Carl Gotch lift off the short arm scissors into a back suplex. Benoit also did the reverse vertical suplex that Conan invented years ago in Mexico, and just as much starting to gain the momentum, it was ruined by so many run-ins that they lost all of their effect. Jacqueline attacked Nancy, Jimmy Hart stole the U.S. belt, Arn Anderson clocks Malenko, and then Anderson steps out of the way and allows Kevin Sullivan to hit Benoit with a stick. Eddie Guerrero with his arm in a sling from a torn pec comes out, and Malenko saves Benoit by punching Sullivan, and at this point the match is thrown out. Sullivan's going to take the bump onto Guerrero, who looks less than thrilled with a flying body coming his way while he's hurt. And Hart would put the title belt on Guerrero's shoulder, and he and Sullivan and Jacqueline all drag Guerrero out, making it look like Guerrero, who stole the belt, doing the Patty Hearst kidnapping and robbery angle from a zillion years ago. Malenko then told Benoit he, quote unquote, presumably Guerrero, wasn't supposed to be here. 3.25 stars is the rating here. And obviously they're going to do a lot of good wrestling, but it is sort of a finish that really hurt the match. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it just way too many run-ins, and that got to be a thing. And not saying this match was a culprit of that, but when two guys were wrestling and neither guy really wanted to do the job, right? They would just do a kind of a run-in to throw things out. It got to the point to where it was run-in-omania as we moved along in the later years of WCW in our run.
It's kind of a shitty deal to do on a pay-per-view though, is it not? I mean,
oh yeah, of course it is. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because do it on Nitro or do it on Thunder, and do it to where it furthers an angle. But you know what, Conrad? What we were doing, on pay-per-views weren't as important as what we were doing on WCW Monday Nitro. And that was wrong, and I've said that many times. And again, that was a byproduct of being owned by a fucking television company. That's what that was. And I'm telling you right now, I heard rumors a long time ago, well, within the last year. Have you heard rumors that Vince was going to sell to Fox? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah. I mean, I believe that Vince is trying to sell the company right now.
You do?
Yes.
Well, but anyway, if a television company buys it, it's fucked.
I think it's fucked if anybody besides Vince owns it.
Oh, I'm not so sure. I mean, if planting a seed here, okay? I'm just planting a seed that it would be a great offshoot of First Family Mortgage.
Oh my gosh.
Just a thought here.
Well, listen, I appreciate that, Tony, but really, you don't have to get too complicated to understand that you can save a bunch of money at 1fmc.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. But if you're renting after all these payments, what have you got to show for it? Isn't it time you got something for your family? Well, First Family can make it fast and easy. You can buy a house with no money down, and even a credit score in the 500s can still get you qualified for this program. But maybe best of all, if you've already got a home, I want you to really think about this. How old are you going to be when you pay your house off? You probably don't know the answer. You probably haven't done enough planning, and you need to spend 10 minutes with First Family Mortgage right now. We're going to show you how to get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. Maybe there's some projects around the house that your wife's been up your ass to do. We can help you actually get those done with no money out of pocket. I'm talking about a full kitchen remodel, a brand new master bath, whatever she's after you to do, you can do with no money out of pocket and keep roughly the same monthly payment. It sounds too good to be true, but we can do it for you right now at 1fmc.com. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender.
When you're talking about your own money, it's very important that you deal with people who are good people. And I say this from experience, First Family Mortgage, good people.
Yeah, man. Listen, when you're dealing with First Family, you're dealing with me. And if you've got a question or a concern or need some help along the way, fire me off an email, man. I'm happy to help. Conrad at 1fmc.com. So we see Jacqueline strutting that ass out here right now. And it's apparent that she has an issue with Nancy Sullivan. And of course, she has been at the right hand of Kevin Sullivan. So it certainly looks like that's what we're building towards. There must have been a sale on patent leather because the ladies are sporting the leather here in a big way.
And she is nailing her ass. That's what she's doing right here. She is absolutely nailing her ass. And of course, Nancy just had to, here comes Jimmy Hart. We don't know what he's doing down here. And Benoit's going to go up for that flying headbutt of his. And Jimmy Hart running around the ring like a little water bug. And oh, what a great move.
What is it with you and the word water bug today? What's going on in Georgia where all of a sudden that's part of the conversation?
Have I said water bug more than once?
Yeah, you said it a few minutes ago when Medusa was kicking Sonny Ono.
Oh,
Get out here, you water bug. I don't know what's going on over there.
There comes Eddie Guerrero, torn pec and all.
No, that's not Eddie Guerrero. Who is that?
Oh, it's gotta
be Gravitron!
Son of Lasertron, brother of Lasertron, one of them Trons,
cousin of Lasertron,
cousin of Lasertron,
nephew of Lasertron. We don't fucking know. They're kin.
Oh, what a great inside out suplex that time, and this is a prototypical WCW clusterfuck is what we got in front of us right here.
To me, this is what it looks like. Jimmy Hart ran in to steal the belt, much like I'm going to have to do with the Schiavone household with that 6-man tag. And then a meth dealer is going to try to stop me from leaving with it. And we're going to call that, for our intents and purposes, Matt Schiavone. So Matt is going, since he's unemployed now and he's trying to get the gig at CNN Center. He's going to be trying to guard the belt. And then here comes Pop to make sure that I leave with the belt. Wham! Cane to the back of the head. And meth dealer takes a tumble. So does Pop. But as long as I escape with the belt, we're good to go. Let's see if I make it. Let's see. You think I'm going to make it?
I don't know. Wait a minute.
There it is. Yeah. Gravitron. Win one for the big one. There we go.
What? I don't have the answer to this, but what in the fuck was Arn Anderson doing out there?
You know, nobody knows what anybody's doing with any of this, if I'm honest with you. You know, it feels like we've got a little bit of a Horseman situation because although they're not officially announced yet, we do have Malenko and Benoit who are going to be Horsemen. We've also got Arn Anderson who was involved, but the biggest thing to me is they make sure on camera you hear Malenko say he wasn't supposed to be here, and you sell it like it is the biggest, piece of I don't even know. I mean, it's like you're Sherlock Holmes. Who is he? I need answers. What is a he? Is he H-E? What does he mean he? It's not a she. What is it? What is he? It depends on your definition of is. What does is mean to you? What does is mean? Is it a he? What do I do with my hands? I mean, you're over the top with this he business.
Really? I'm over the top? What the fuck?
To me, it feels like this is obviously a Kevin Sullivan reference, but the dirt sheet would say, clearly referencing Eddie Guerrero. I don't understand that. I mean, the idea here is certainly to set up Sullivan Benoit. I mean, we know behind the scenes what's going on. How did the dirt sheets sort of get it wrong and sort of freestyle that it was Guerrero? Here you go. Right here. Who is he? Is he Guerrero? Is he Kevin Sullivan? Is he Arn Anderson? Oh man, who is he? Jimmy Hart? Somebody explain this to me. Who are we talking about? They both agreed and they both know, although we don't. Who is he? I need to know who he is. He wasn't supposed to be here, but who is he, Dusty? Who is he? Who is he?
Damn, I was pretty good at that shit then, apparently.
I didn't put any butts in the seats though, so I don't know. So these guys, of course, this is the highlight of the match to me, the suplex to the floor. How great was that? I had no idea that Conan invented that. So you learned something new today on WHW Monday. Of course, before these guys ever get here to WCW, and of course later we're going to know that they go on to be members of the Four Horsemen. But when they were in ECW together, they were actually tag team champions. Did you know that, Tony?
I did not know that. Of course, if it happened in ECW, I didn't know it.
Hey, let me ask you this. If you found out that a guy that you worked with was banging your wife, would you write it in the storyline that you got to hit him in the back of the head with a kendo stick?
Personally, I would, if I knew that somebody was banging Lois, I'd give him $1,000.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you remember the old Harley Race promo where he put a bounty on Flair to any man, woman, or child that can incapacitate the Nature Boy. Take the damn money. Well, I need you to heed this bounty that's just been put out there from Tony Schiavone. Take the damn money. $1,000 to the nearest man, woman, or animal that can
in God's green earth
on God's green earth that can satisfy the insatiable Lois Schiavone.
You got it wrong there, buddy. She ain't insatiable, and I just want to make her happy.
Look at fucking Kenny Powers strutting out here with his cut sleeves. He's got 2 earrings in and the cut sleeves. He looks like he is fresh off the track at Talladega, does he not?
Yes, he does. As a matter of fact, I was unfamiliar with Kenny Powers until we started doing this show. So then I started watching it.
Oh, really? You've started watching Eastbound and Down?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I love that I've introduced you to a lot of fun things now. What did you think of Kenny Powers?
I thought he was wonderful. Absolutely. Just, wait a minute. Is School Board coming out here by himself?
School Board's coming out by himself because Scott Steiner, Hamcube, was arrested when someone didn't pay their bill in Ackworth, and he tried to chase him out in his white booty shorts, and they shut him down. Tony, when we were watching that scene earlier as they were arresting old Hamcube, I wanted to ask a serious question here.
Oh, boy.
Have you ever worn white shorts?
White short? Yes, I have.
Do you have pictures of that? Can we get that posted on Facebook or Twitter? I feel like
No, I don't have pictures of that. You may not have known this, but back when I was younger, back in the 70s, I played a lot of tennis, and I had white tennis shorts.
That doesn't count. I mean, like Were you just like cruising around, Marietta, Georgia, and some fucking white cargos a couple years ago?
No. Not in my older years. No.
Hey,
not at
let
all.
me ask you this. We're talking over a Kevin Nash match. You're not missing anything. What do you, what's your favorite amongst, like, is there like a douche-ism that you know of? Like my favorite, and we have a friend of the show here, Mr. Jay-Z, and I bust his balls in public and in private as much as I can. The dude only wears white sunglasses. I think a dude wearing white sunglasses is a douche. Your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I think a guy who is over the age of 18 and wears his hat on backwards is a douche.
Yeah, Bruce Pritchard just did that at our most recent show.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's stolen my gimmick. I just think every time I see a guy with his hat on backwards, I'll say, "Are you 17? What the fuck?" Yeah, the hat on backwards bullshit just doesn't get it with me.
I'm sure within an hour of hearing this, Jay-Z will post a selfie of a hat on backwards and white sunglasses.
Yeah, well, he's a douche. He might as well.
So you agree with me that Jay-Z is a douche?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now,
Absolutely.
not a douche, Kevin Nash, who we're having a little bit of fun with here. And I said, you're not missing anything. I do feel bad for Kevin Nash because he's in a really bad spot here. Obviously, politically, he's trying to have a little bit of a feud with Kevin Sullivan about the placement here, but his partner is a no-show. So he's actually defending the tag titles in a fucking singles match. How WCW is this?
Yeah, and it's terrible. And, it's just one of those small, we're starting to climb the mountain. We're getting really hot, but we're starting to do a lot of fucked up things. And this is one of them.
It feels like a little bit of crash booking. And obviously, who the fuck am I? I'm just a wrestling fan. But to me, if Scott Hall's not here, why wouldn't you just have a replacement and you announce that he's not here, but that Six is going to stand in for him? And then you have Six take the pin. So then there is a reason for a return match when Scott Hall can come back. So yeah, the Steiners get the straps, but in the scheme of things, does it fucking really matter who the tag champs are here in April of 97? It just at least continues the storyline. So Kevin Nash can drop the belts, but not actually be hurt in the process because Six took the pin and he's much smaller than old school Board and Ham Cubes.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, what do belts even matter anyway? To me, it's all about storylines. I think we'd gotten to the point at this time in the history of professional wrestling that belts didn't mean what they used to mean. They didn't.
This whole, the tag belts being defended in a singles match is super weird. And of course, what we saw the skirmish about earlier with Lee Marshall in the back was he wanted to know where Scott Hall was and who was going to be the referee tonight.
Right.
And they were demanding that it be Nick Patrick, and Nick Patrick actually comes out with them all. And he's got, his wrist taped up. He's got black markers on him, and he's cut the sleeves off his shorts or off his shirt. And he's got the earrings like he likes it in both ears. And he's certainly doing the heel referee gimmick, which I actually enjoyed. But the idea that this is a singles match for the tag titles, I think we could have done something a little different.
Yeah, I agree. The black marks on the tape fist, you know what that was about?
What's that about?
Those were black Sharpies that he pulled out of Rick Steiner's ass.
Oh my gosh. Listen to you.
Okay.
You're going to get us in trouble with old school Board and Ham Cubes.
Just, and that's just a story I heard. You hear things, you hear rumors.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what to do here, but I feel like we need to transition and talk about one of our great sponsors here on the show, and it's Double R Diesel. And of course, when Kevin Nash was in the WWF, he went by Diesel, so this feels like as good a time as any. And our great friend over there at Double R is a fellow named Eric Rash, and Eric is from Colorado and a big podcast listener, so this is not a formal fancy third-party buy. This is another WHW listener just like you, and he's actually bought t-shirts at the same time. Is he not, Tony?
I've talked to Eric on the phone. Absolutely.
So he's a big fan of the show. He's digging what we're doing, and he's got a unique offering for you. So I'm going to do my best to get through this without you making me crack up. Can I do that here, Tony?
Sure.
No matter if you like to stroke, ram, and come, or be a dirty max, we got the parts that keep you going. All original equipment that's right fit for your rig. We have over 40 years experience servicing diesel engines, and if you need your fuel injection equipment attested, repaired, or replaced, we got you covered. Most repairs are finished and shipped back within a week. Our website has easy to use application guides to find the parts you need. We offer special pricing for repair shops and fleets. Free shipping on any orders or repairs over $100 for What Happened When listeners, and get 20% off your total repair order if you mention this ad. Follow these guys on both Instagram and Facebook at R Diesel Inc. That's R Diesel Inc. And be sure to check them out online at rdieselinc.com. That's DOUBLERDIESELINC.com. Eric Rash is the man. And how about that, man? He wrote his own ad for us. And it starts with, no matter if you like to stroke, ram and come, or be a dirty max, we got the parts to keep you going.
You know, Eric, thanks for being with us here on WHW Monday. I want to let you know that's the first script that I've listened to from a commercial that's given me a Woody. So there congratulations.
You go. Well, Not only will he give you a Woody, apparently he will hook you up if you've got some trouble with your diesel engine. So check him out, R Diesel Inc. And don't forget, you're going to get free shipping on orders or repairs over $100 and 20% off your total order. Just make sure you mention this ad at rdieselinc.com, and be sure to follow them on Instagram and Facebook.
How long does it take someone to take off a turnbuckle pad is the question before us here.
You know, it's a group effort, and eventually DiBiase's like, what the fuck is going on? So, yeah. You know, I don't know how many NWO members it takes to get a turnbuckle pad off, but we finally do it. And what they're trying to tease here is the old Snake Eyes deal that Kevin first started doing as the Vinny Vegas character in WCW, but he kept it going. And oh, there goes School Board. Down he goes. Kenny Powers with the tattoo on the left arm. What do you wish the tattoo was?
What do I wish it was?
Yes.
I don't know where you're going with this, Kimasabi. I don't know.
Okay. Fuck it. Who knows what we're doing?
Is this the Kenny Powers reference? Oh, now that one looked pretty stiff.
I mean, these guys are having a really good match for what, you know, you would expect. I guess we should mention that here. They're going to go 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Of course, we know Kevin Nash is going to go ahead and retain. Star and a half. What say you?
Every bit of a star at the most.
So the story they're telling here is that Kevin Nash wants to continue to inflict punishment on Rick Steiner, and DiBiase eventually says, okay, that's enough.
Right.
And so the second time he dropped him on the Snake Eyes, it was because Six was sort of prodding him along, saying, do it again, give him another one. And so when he's going to do it again, DiBiase's saying, that's enough. Kevin Nash has some words for him and says, I'll tell you when it's enough. And he drops him on the top turnbuckle, the exposed turnbuckle, again. DiBiase is not pleased with this, and he's going to step into the ring, say, hey, that's it. That's enough. We're not going to end his career here. And so they're trying to show the really vindictive side, the evil side of Kevin Nash, and DiBiase's seen enough. He's out of here. He's not going to fight Kevin Nash, but he's taking a walk. And it even becomes apparent that Nick Patrick is even a little uncomfortable with it.
Another thing is going on here too, Conrad. They're trying to create a storyline here where the NWO is showing, as we said, chinks in the armor, right? And build a different storyline to where, and of course it's going to all play out with Randy Savage a little bit later on. I in hindsight, I don't know if it was too soon to do this or not. Well,
I mean, obviously we're not going to see the NWO really split up for a while, but we do see, right. I mean, we're still 8 months away from Hulk Hogan losing the Sting.
Yeah, we are, but still, I just, I don't know. I when I see this and I look back to it, I just trying to, I'm thinking again that we're just overthinking ourselves, or we're thinking too much.
Yeah. To me, armchair quarterbacking. Why not have Waltman take the pin, drop the belts to the Steiners here? It gives Kevin Nash something to come out and say, you didn't beat the tag team champions. You beat a stand-in, you beat a replacement. He's the best cruiserweight there is, but this is where the big boys play. And when Scott Hall's back, we've got a rematch clause, and we'll see you at Great American Bash next month.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're going to show the replay again of the snake eyes, and this is a thing that got them all upset and got Ted DiBiase to walk away and Nick Patrick to walk away. And
Nick Patrick doesn't even want to count here. Doesn't see the point after a jackknife and making a count. But after reluctantly counting 1, Nash intimidates him to go ahead and finish it out. 2, 3, ring the bell. Kevin Nash is your tag team champions. Yeah, that's proper English.
So again, WCW, for many, many reasons, a lot of those, the fact that not everybody can show up to get their work done. By the way, Mean Gene Okerlund back here with the total package. Lex Luger to my right, and to my left, the Giant. They'll be going up against Harlem Heat. The first man to score a pinfall or submission will go on to get a world title shot against Hollywood Hulk Hogan, the world heavyweight champion. Lex, I'm going to talk to the Giant here first. Continue to look at yourself in the monitor here and take a look at your pecs and shake those around, Giant. I want to say a few things about you and about falling off the roof and shitting in rooms and all. I mean, Gene, the fact is I'm going to go on to have a great professional wrestling career, but it's not going to be with this shitty company. It's going to be with another company that is going to know how to take someone my size and do something with him. It is not going to be World Championship Wrestling. It is going to be the WWE. And I'm going to become a big star. I'm going to become, should I say, a big show. But not here, to where I have to turn and look at this jacked up piece of shit to my right. I'm talking to you, Lex Luger. Well, I agree with you. At least I think I agree with you, but I'm too busy looking at myself. And I'm going to become a big star, and you, my friend, are going to become absolutely nothing. Now, let me say this. A couple of things about Tony Schiavone. Motherfucker, his computer continues to shut off in the midst of these podcasts. He apparently does not know how to spend enough fucking money on technology. Meanwhile, Lex, I hope you have looked at yourself enough in the monitor here, and if you'll talk a little bit about the match we got coming up against Harlem Heat. Well, Gene, the only thing I want to do really is, as the fans have been known me to do for the last couple of months, is to draw things with my fingers. As you can see, I'm pointing over to the Giant, and in just a few minutes, I'm going to draw one of these lines that only Lex Luger can draw. And I'm going to start from the left and go to the right, and I'm going to make sure my thumb stays out. I don't know why, but when I point, for some reason, my thumb stays out. It's almost like Bill Clinton. There he goes. It's almost like Bill Clinton when he would shake the fist, his thumb would be put up. But there you see, I'm drawing one line, and I pray that I will be able to do it. But there goes my thumb. I'm pointing, and my thumb is sticking out. You see, I'm pointing. I guess I'm trying to show people the size of my penis. But I'm really not so sure if that's the case now. Giant, look at me. Look at how big and good I look. But I'm going to draw another line right down here, and I'm going to point with my thumb sticking out. And that is one of the things that made Lex Luger the star that he was. Being able to talk and being able to point and being able to draw a line at the same time. So Harlem Heat, if we got to draw lines, if we got to point, I'm going to become the champ. If we got to wrestle, well, I'm not so sure I'm that good. All right, you heard it from the Giant and the total package drawing a line with his finger, Lex Luger. And I can draw a line with my finger too, motherfucker. Look at that. And let's go to the ring.
Yeah, I guess we should smarten everybody up. This is our 19th take of this fucking show this week because about every 11 minutes, Tony Schiavone's system just completely shits the bed. Did Lois spill Jim Beam on your computer, do you think?
No. Look, I don't know. I don't know. I gotta spend some of the money that I've been making, right? Thanks to you, on a computer, I guess. I had to shut things down and bring a brand new computer in.
All right. Coming up next, the Harlem Heat. Looks like this tag team brought to you by Brazzers.com. Why are you laughing? Do you know what that is?
No.
What?
I don't know what it is. Listen, I'm as uncool as you can fucking get, millennial.
Why are you laughing then? If you don't,
because the way you say things, you make me laugh.
Well, hopefully you're not the only one. Sucker! Because I know that Stevie Ray is not a fan of what we're doing. Hey, there's a little kid just inside the guardrail right there. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, fucking.
No, it was a girl. Do you know why there's a little girl inside the guardrail?
I didn't see that. I thought you were talking about that little punk that was trying to give one of them the high five.
No, I'm talking about a little.
There was a little girl inside the rail?
Inside the guardrail. Chilling.
Huh. Is she one of those young people that bring jackets or coats back or things like that?
You guys were employing minors? Like, I'm talking about like a fourth grader?
Well, Klondike Bill's grandson was employed to bring those. Christopher's employed to bring those jackets back.
Did y'all pay him in bubblegum?
No. Betty, you ready? $250 a show.
Really?
Yes, we did.
I bet Klondike Bill snatched that cash from him and said he needed it for a new coffee table.
Somehow Klondike and the word snatch just seem to go together.
Well, listen to you.
Okay.
So here's Lex Luger trying to be a babyface, running around high-fiving fans. Given what you've told us about Lex Luger, could this seem any more disingenuous?
Yeah, I know. Luger tried to play the part. I don't think he played it well, though. I think he was a much better heel than he was a babyface.
No doubt about it. And I feel like we should mention here too that Big Show here, only 26 years old.
My God.
Isn't that crazy?
My God. That means he's almost 60 now, isn't it?
I think he actually might even be 25 here. Yeah, he's 25.
Wow.
And we hear Lois shaking off in the background.
Yeah. Broadcast location. You know what? I need to get a new computer. When you say?
Who, me? I have no idea what you're doing and what you're doing it with.
Lois?
She's in one of those moods, Klondike.
Well, let's get her cussing and fussing. That's what the people want.
You're in pain?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Tell us what pain you're in.
Well, it's right here on my backside, and it's wearing a red shirt.
Wow.
Man, she's got hemorrhoids so big they're wearing shirts.
Came down to Medicare.
Oh, God. She's gone. Conrad, she's gone.
Is this what I have to look forward to?
Yes, you do. Said they're all crazy, just different levels of it.
I'm gonna have to fucking call this shit off.
Please don't, man. I'm thinking about. Ooh.
I love pain meds.
She's on pain medication and moonshine.
Hey, let me just pitch this. I know.
Yeah, we got it at his house.
Pain meds and moonshine mean one thing, brother. You ready?
What?
Butt stuff.
You know where she got that moonshine stuff from Big Booty Judy.
Really?
Drinking it at your house.
And so you guys stopped and got a bottle on the way home?
Ordered it special delivery.
Wow.
Happy birthday to me.
Okay, that was last week. Thank you, sweetheart.
So, what'd you do special for Lois's birthday? Did you get a little,
No.
Get a little stank on your hang low?
No. Went out to dinner, went out to have sushi. That was it.
Yeah. I bet you had some sushi.
Oh, God.
I bet you gave her that California roll, didn't you?
I sure did. I gave her the yummy roll.
You know, over here in Alabama, they actually sell a Roll Tide roll. Are you in the loop on that?
A Roll Tide roll?
Yes.
Wow, I bet they do. Yeah.
I feel like you should have a slap dick roll.
Okay. Meanwhile, this shitty match.
Yeah, I mean, let's run through this. I guess this is worth mentioning, and this is sort of nonsensical because the idea is it's a four corners match, but it's really being worked as a tag match. I mean, they even come out together. They came out as pairs, and Meltzer would write, with the exception of a 1 minute segment with Luger versus the Giant and then tagging out, having Booker T versus Stevie Ray, it was a traditional tag match.
Yeah, it wasn't worked like a real four corners match should be worked. And as we see, the finish is going to be the Giant giving up his spot, so to speak, to the total package Lex Luger. So, yeah, again, Conrad, to take a look at what has happened here. Now, we've had some very good matches, right?
Yeah.
But we've had one of the matches, which was Benoit and Dean Malenko, had just a convoluted, fucked up finish. Okay? And now we've got this that makes no sense at all. Hulk Hogan is not wrestling on this pay-per-view. And so we are making just small mistakes that continue to be made, and fans continue to scratch their head, and fans continue, it all adds up down the road to keep doing shit like this. And we're at the height of our popularity. Why are things happening to us like this if we're at the height of our popularity? And I think it's just the small niches in the armor, chinks in the armor, if you will, that lead to the downfall of WCW, one of the things.
Yeah, it's a weird match because in kayfabe, and just bear with me for a minute here, if the concept is it's a four corners match and whoever wins gets a world title shot, wouldn't you just have one of the Harlem Heat lay down for the other? I mean,
exactly.
Like in theory, if Stevie Ray just laid down and Booker covered him, since Sherry's sort of managing them both, she could have manipulated that and made it to where one of these guys is getting a world title shot. But instead, they're not going to work together, and the whole thing makes no sense.
No, it's almost as if they came up with a pretty decent idea, but in theory, the execution of the idea is just absolutely wrong. Harlem Heat shouldn't have been involved in this match at all. Booker T, maybe. Stevie Ray by himself. Why not? Okay. Why not put Benoit and Dean Malenko in it? I mean, you fucked up their match anyway, and why not put them in it? And now they get to arguing, which, okay, I can understand this logically, right? They're now arguing with each other because they both want to get that world title shot, but we've gone beyond that now. We've gone way beyond it.
These guys are going to go 18 minutes and 18 seconds.
Wow.
And it's I don't know. It's weird. Meltzer would write, and if the Giant was going to give Luger the title shot at the end, why didn't he lay down for him? Anyway, most of the match saw Luger was worked over until he made the hot tag. Giant destroys both guys and had Ray beat, but graciously tags Luger, who racks Ray to earn the title shot, presumably at the June pay-per-view. Match was boring, 1 star. I hate to agree, and it feels like we're picking on him a little bit. This is a fucking boring match. And I know we just said that when Sting was tagging with Booker T at Uncensored 96 against the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. But this is a really boring match.
It's amazing that WCW here, Conrad, can have, I think it's something that we've touched on many times, can have such good matches at the bottom, but when they get their superstars in the ring, it seems like they don't know how to book them.
Yeah, it's weird because right now, we've got the baby faces squaring off and they're sort of pointing to each other and realize what they've got. And now the brothers have to wrestle each other. I didn't say that because they're black. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And, the crowd is going nuts for this. So as silly as it was, they were ready for this spot.
Well, they were reacting to guys who've had plenty of exposure and been put in main event situations on TV. That's basically what they react. They weren't reacting to what they were seeing as far as this match making sense. They were reacting to seeing superstars in the ring. And I think that not only that, a couple of good things about this. One of the good things, I thought thought members of the Harlem Heat and the fans were kind of into this, see them going at it. I thought they did some pretty good bumping for the Giant here prior to this.
I never noticed the difference in the boots. Booker T wears a much lower boot or, a much shorter boot. Stevie Ray opting for almost all the way up to the knee. Why do you think, Booker T had the aptitude to be a top guy and maybe Stevie Ray didn't?
Wow. There's so many things that go into it. This is, and I've always liked Stevie Ray. I thought Booker T was a better overall athlete than Stevie Ray. He was quicker. He was more agile. I think he was, and I've often said, a good overall athlete makes a better professional wrestler, and Tully Blanchard was one of those. He was a great overall athlete. He could just do so many things. And Stevie Ray was just kind of this big, prodding, a strong guy, and Booker T could flip, flop, and fly, if you will. So I think that went into it.
Is it a little weird here, do you think, for WCW to have a pay-per-view with, no Ric Flair match, no Roddy Piper match, no Sting, no Hulk Hogan, no world title? Or do you think that, sort of laying off a pay-per-view every now and again isn't the worst thing in the world?
Well, now that we're doing them every month, so to speak, I think it may not. I always thought your top stars should be in your pay-per-views. But again, our theory was, no, our top stars should be on Nitro. Yeah, I agree with that. I think although Diamond Dallas Page and the Macho Man Randy Savage was a hell of a feud, and was the headliner to this card, you still needed Piper, you still needed Hogan, you still needed Sting, you still needed Flair. And any combination of those guys, the exception of Hogan, would have worked in this match to go on to face Hogan for the world title, don't you think?
I do. It's a fun pay-per-view for me because we've had two really good matches so far, and we told a good story, even though it was sort of silly with the Steiners and the Outsiders. But the main event to me steals the show as far as storyline. It really is the coming out party for Diamond Dallas Page. But on our way there, this is just fucking brutal to get through. This in and of itself has been a challenge for us to tape this show. But when I look down and I realize there's 40 more minutes of this, it's like, golly.
Yeah.
You guys you had one of the most stacked rosters of all time, but it seems like some of these matches are getting way too much time for what they really should have had.
And that's the problem with old school, give the guys plenty of time to do their shit. How many times have I heard that in the backstage? Well, they need plenty of time to get their shit in. Well, you know what? If their shit's not good, don't have them get it in. And I've heard that so many times, and the shit wasn't always that good to get their shit in. And here's a case where, well, we're going to give them 18 minutes. No, you don't need to give them 18 minutes. You need to give them like 8 or 10. And believe you me, in the concept of a wrestling match, taking off 8 minutes of this, and even adding another match would have helped out this pay-per-view tremendously.
I totally agree.
But again, it's just one of those things where, I don't know. It's old school booking, meeting, not being able to adapt with television.
You know what? We haven't done it in a while. You want us to try to really call this match and just have some fun?
Sure. Okay. I do a little warm up here for MLW Fusion.
I guess we should mention that you are going to be making your network debut before you know it. Mark your calendars, boys and girls. April 20th is the date, is it not?
On April 20th on a Friday night, BN Sports Network, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Pacific, part of Friday Night Fury on the BN Sports Network. Yeah.
And that is on DirecTV. So if you have DirecTV, don't think you can't actually enjoy this. I believe it's like channel 620 on DirecTV. I think that's
okay.
Right.
And I take it you have DirecTV, so you know this. I don't have it on my cable system yet. So, but They have a lot of sports, a lot of college sports, actually, a lot of soccer they have on there. And now they got major. And now you'll be able to tune in April 20th and say, boy, Schiavone has really gotten fat. Holy shit.
Hey, let me ask you this. Whenever you see on MLW, since you are going to be on a channel that, you know, is sort of famous for soccer, when one guy kicks another guy in the nuts, can you promise us, Slapdick Nation, that you will yell, "Go!"
Yeah, I can get away with that.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
So there's a little nod to all of, hey, you know what? You ought to do like Mills Lane used to do. Remember that old boxing referee who would sort of like tug his ear or something for his wife or kids or whoever he was telling at the home? You ought to do something like that for us at Slapdick Nation.
Yeah. And then I say, now let's get it on.
I think you say that on Lois's birthday, or maybe after she has her fifth Xanax of the night. Yeah.
That's and it's something you can look forward to once you get older. That's kind of passed us by, young man. Those days have passed us by.
I just saw her take the pills. I know it didn't pass you by.
Okay. Well, the night's not over, you know. We'll see. All right. Well, so here we go. Getting into the MLW fusion mode. It is Booker T with a rear chin lock on the total package Lex Luger. You're not going to learn these holds again, Conrad. I'm going to be able to get back into the swing of things.
Should I call
Sherry reaching in. Her boobs are draped across the apron of the ring on the far side. Randy Anderson trying to pull that belly up over his belt line over on the right now. And now we're going to check and see if Lex Luger is going to give up or not. And the total package right now is just puffing and wheezing, looking at Randy Anderson saying, how much time is left in this fucking match? I've blown up. But here he comes, the total package Lex Luger, getting to his feet. Hey, elbow into the midsection. Another one into the midsection. He's going to get ahead of steam to the far ropes, ducking out the close. Oh, no. A Harlem hangover. The Harlem sidekick. He got him. Did I have the right move there? Those Harlem sidekick. Yes. 1, 2. And the Giant got his foot caught on the rope coming in. Oh, when is this clusterfuck going to end?
Would you rather
now they're going to double team Lex Luger here
with Conrad Thompson from Huntsville, Alabama, or Sassafras? Okay.
Okay.
Clothesline by Stevie Ray. Covered. No, we didn't get it. Rear naked chokehold. Suckers got to know that the total package is not going to tap out to this rear naked chokehold. Isn't that right, old slapdick Tony?
That's right, JR. I want to tell you one thing that, man, Sherry, Sherry's boobs are just all over the place here now. That's what I've been watching. But meanwhile, as the reverse chin lock is applied here, the total package Lex Luger trying to fight out of it, and the fans are getting with him. And Stevie Ray said, he going out. Suckers got to know he going out. And he cranks that side headlock on the side. Randy Anderson, it's a 2. It's a 2. Oh, he's up.
Lex Luger's going to anabolic up. Here he goes, ladies and gentlemen.
Into one knee. He gets the elbow into the midsection. Belly to back suplex.
Well, of course he did.
One of the worst belly to back suplexes ever.
Well, of course he got him up, Tony. You got to remember, this boy is a blue chipper from the University of Miami. He played ball, he played football. I'm talking about ball. You hear me?
Boy, do I ever. And now down goes Luger on all fours, and it's Booker T in there, the Giant seething, trying to get in, JR, trying to get in. Into the midsection again with the knee. Here comes Booker T with a scissor kick on the back of the head.
You got to wonder,
why in the world would you do something like that in the middle of a match?
Old Flair used to tell me 1, 2, there's a big boot from the big man. Old Big Show there. The Giant. So old Flair, he used to tell me that he had a nickname for the Harlem Heat whenever he'd see them in the shower. Would you like to hear their nicknames in the shower?
Yeah, I sure would, Jim. What was it?
Big Heat and Little Heat.
Ah, got it. Yeah. All right. Well, which was which is the question I would like to know.
Well, we don't deal in rumor and innuendo. Oh, he missed. Man, I tell you what, that Booker T's tougher than government mule.
Luger needs to make a tag. Luger's in the wrong corner. He's in a neutral corner. Look at the Giant in that long reach of his. Here comes Luger. Pulling his. He made the tag. He made the tag. He made the tag. Help me out, Jim. I'm running out of steam.
That'll put a lot of butts in the seats, Schiavone. That's why I'm in the Hall of Fame, and you're fucking not. You're not even in the goddamn Gwinnett Braves Hall of Fame. Since they got you on the fucking squad, they're not even the Braves. They're the goddamn Stripers. What does that mean? Are they going to deliver flowers to your hotel room? Probably not, because no one would fucking visit you. Let's go, Giant. Choke slam, choke slam, choke slam. He's tougher than $2 steak. He's beating it like a government mule. God is almighty's broken him in half. She booted, she booted, she booted. And he's going to tag in Lex Luger. Boy, I bet Miss Elizabeth wishes she got the hot tag. But nope, Lex Luger wasn't there for her. But thankfully, he's here for the Giant. There it is. He's got him racked. He's got him racked. Will he give? He did. He did. He did. Luger wins.
I think I'd make the Gwinnett Braves Hall of Fame. So he gave up his spot. Did the Giant, Paul White, and Lex Luger goes on to face Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship. And the fans bought into it. I mean, they really reacted to it, even though they had to sit through 18 minutes of shit.
What are we doing with our lives right now?
I was saying that from the second time my computer shut down.
Let's go to the replay here, Tony Schiavone. Here you see the Giant nearly trip over his fucking self. Booker T has to throw himself over backwards to get out of the ring. And now Giant decides, I don't want to be champ. They're going to put me on a diet. Fuck this. Get in here and rack him up. Rack him. Rack him.
And Luger, who's as clumsy as a cow on ice, racked him up. And there you got it. Stevie Ray gives up, and the total package Lex Luger beats Little Heat. Or is that Big Heat?
Well, we'll never know, Tony. We don't deal in rumor and innuendo, but the Giant to give up his title shot's got to be crazier than a pet coon.
One more match to go.
Have I mentioned that tickets are still available for my live show in New Orleans, WrestleMania? Oh, WrestleMania's already happened. I guess I can stop talking about it. Buy the goddamn barbecue sauce. Have you tried good old JR's barbecue sauce? Fucking nobody else has either. But if you would be so kind as to buy some and goddamn pick up some jerky. Thankfully, that shit don't expire. You hear me? That's the reason I went with the jerky, because there's no shelf life. Now, Tony, you don't know nothing about shelf life, because you expired about 17 years ago. And then, Conrad's done dusted your ass off, pulled you out of mothballs. Now you're in the podcast game, but I'm going to show you the ropes today, boy. I'm going to learn you about how we do things here. First of all, we talk about how everybody needs to start selling and how nobody's selling. And people need to slow down and just tell a story. Just work a goddamn body part. But they don't do that, Tony. They just do 19 goddamn Hurricane Ranas on top of each other. And then when it's all said and done, a fucking schoolboy does it. You know what I'm saying? Now, me and the old cowboy, we didn't do that. But what we did do was great barbecue. And that's what you can get from jrsbarbecue.com. Now, I don't know why I don't actually own the proper domain. Somebody's cyber squatting my ass, and I'm going to put a hit on them as soon as I figure out where they are. Now, how am I going to hit them? Well, I'm going to send them that Creole mustard, because when they get that Creole mustard, they're going to be shitting their goddamn brains out. That ain't Montezuma's revenge. That is Oklahoma's revenge. You hear me? I'm talking about Barry Switzer's revenge. Barry Switzer was a fine American. The rumor and innuendo that he was only coaching leftovers and buying players to win championships, that's a falsehood. That's what they do down there in Tuscaloosa with, Flair's buddy, Oh, Conrad Thompson. I know Conrad. He's a little suspect at best. Tony, are you still here? God damn it, I'm doing all the heavy lifting for you, Tony. Here comes the Macho Man and Elizabeth. This is sad to see. Not because they're both passed away, but because I let them leave. And I think about the shortcomings I had when I was running things up there for New York, and I just let this sumbitch just slip right through my fingers. And you know, the Macho Man went down there, and best on my Oklahoma math, these sumbitches got him about free after they got that Slim Jim money. Now, speaking of jerky, let me tell you about JR's jerky. Because if you've had a Slim Jim, all right, you're just depriving yourself, Tony Schiavone. You need that Oklahoma original JR's bar. Shit ain't got no shelf life. It just lasts for fucking ever. You hear me? You've been married to Lois about what, 47 years? If you'd have bought this back then, you some bitch, you could crack it open right now and it'd be fine. You know why? Because it's airtight. That's what we've perfected here in Oklahoma. Can't win a goddamn football game no more, but we can get our jerky bags tighter than a son of a bitch. Why is that little girl inside the guardrail? Tony, you ain't answered me. Now, you's here. I wasn't. You see, I was running things for Vince, all right? Maybe you heard of it. It's called World Wrestling Federation. And this was about the time we was running pay-per-views like In Your House, Cold Day in Hell. Nobody knows what the fuck that is. Maybe we'll do one called Taker's Revenge. Nobody talks about how shitty those shows are. Instead, no. We doing a little podcast making fun of WCW. A little suspect at best.
Thanks, Jim. I enjoy your mustard. Oh, meanwhile, let's go back to me, Gene Okerlund. What in the fuck? I missed this one. Diamond Dallas Page, come on in here, DDP. We got quite a combination today. We've got Tony Schiavone and JR, Jim Ross, doing commentary on your matches. Jim, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck your barbecue. I do like your main event mustard. And yes, the beef jerky's got a shelf life, but so does. Oh my God.
So does my marriage to Kimberly. Kimberly.
Oh my God.
Let's explain exactly what we can do to help that fat ass Conrad Thompson who's sitting at home watching. Well, Gene, I really think that Conrad should be introduced to DDP yoga because he's obese and really there's no excuse to be this fucking fat at his age. And you know, you don't see many 70-year-olds his weight. He needs to get on DDP yoga. And after Dallas gets out here and Diamond cuts the fuck out of Macho Man, I'm going to have him drive directly to Huntsville and try to get Conrad Thompson on DDP yoga because that is what's best for business.
All right. There you go. Gene, keep this in front of my mouth where I'm used to it. I
understand. He's super fat, Gene. He needs to lose weight. He needs DDP yoga.
Maybe you'll be able to get into his wedding tux by sometime in September. Meanwhile, let's go back to the ring because here they come. Wow.
Man, I'm a little fired up about Kimberly sort of shitting on me there. What the hell?
Well, you know what? Girls who look like that and went through DDP yoga, they think they look better than anybody else, and they look down on people. Don't get too upset about it. I like you just the way you are.
Oh, that's sweet of you to say. Hey, so let's talk about how Kimberly's really strutting that ass out here. I mean, what's going on here? Like, she's got this power walk. She's being over the top with her walk and her gestures, and she's out first, DDP second. What do you think about that introduction? Do you read anything into that? I find that a little weird.
Well, maybe she likes to be in front and he likes to come in from behind. I don't know.
Oh my God. Listen.
I'm just freestyling here. Now she's really power walking, buddy. Well, she's pissed off about Elizabeth and she power walks and all of a sudden we don't see her in the show. Oh, there she is up on the apron of the ring. But you can't deny, Conrad, she was all that, wasn't she?
As Bruce Pritchard would say, she was all the way live. And here's the deal. We've talked about this before. Let's see if we can give you a WHW Monday quiz of sorts. Can I give you a quiz here?
Yeah.
What was Kimberly's real last name?
Bacon.
Look at you. Who's a good boy?
Thank you. I've been taking Prevagen. That shit comes from jellyfish.
I don't think they're a sponsor. So, as far as I'm concerned, you've been taking 4 Hims and Just for Men beard care.
Okay.
And those
Yeah.
2 products with a little Blue Apron mixed in. And I mean, I know that it's working because you were able to pick up an Away suitcase.
That's
and
right.
Only the smart
Exactly.
people use an Away. Did I tell you that I used my Away, when I went to WrestleMania?
Wow. And I'm going to use my Away when I go to the great cities like Norfolk, Virginia, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I went to WrestleMania with mine. Went to the Hall of Fame with mine.
Yeah, boy. Well, Bruce will be in the Hall of Fame long before I will.
Oh, for sure. No doubt about it.
All right,
So-
we going to get this match underway or not?
Absolutely. And let me tell you, they're stalling for time here, which I wish they weren't, but I know they've got to fill time. Clearly this show was fucking mistimed. It doesn't even feel like Bischoff would have been here. Was Bischoff here this night?
He was here this night.
I mean, it just feels like it's sort of, I don't know, thrown together as far as the way the show is timed, but this really is. And I got to tell you, man, I've always been a DDP fan, but I was especially a DDP fan during this era. He sort of came into his own, at least in my opinion, in January, where they did that angle and New Orleans, where he gave the diamond cutter to Scott Hall. I thought that was a phenomenal coming out party for him as far as an angle on Nitro. But this match makes him, does it not, Tony?
Yeah, it makes him, and well, it helps to make him. And look, if you're going to go up against the Macho Man Randy Savage, and you're going to have a program like this, and Savage taking the diamond cutter, sure it makes you. But you've got to. It takes more than one match, Conrad, to make somebody, don't you think?
Well, no, I definitely agree, but I'm saying, you go back and you look at the big moments in wrestling, and you look at, it was a big moment when Hulk Hogan finally lost and the Ultimate Warrior beat him. That was supposed to be a passing of the torch, and I felt like it was. And, when Hulk Hogan lost to Goldberg, that's a big moment. And so there's lots of big moments like that. And I feel like this is one. I mean, there's like, turning points in people's careers that are major, like critical points. And you can go back and you can point to, and you can say, man, this is when it happened. And this is when it happened for DDP. And this, if you're even a casual DDP fan, I really recommend that you watch this. So there's 2 matches I'm going to highly recommend here, your opener and your main event. So Ultimo Dragon and Rey Mysterio, if you're into a really great match, that's the one. If you're into storytelling, this is the one. DDP is throwing himself into this, and he's got a great dance partner in the Macho Man. I feel like we should talk about, or just at least remind everybody, that what we're following up here is Uncensored 97, where we saw DDP doing a promo when all of a sudden the Macho Man interrupts and they reveal the Playboy Celebrity magazine that Kimberly appeared in. And that's how we get this match set up. Macho Man goes into business for himself, so to speak, there, starts talking about the issue, lays out the centerfold with all the naughty parts airbrushed. And then he comes down, cracks DDP. Once he's laying prone, Kimberly goes to protect him from further damage, and they spray paint her too. So they did a great job building heat for this. And now this is supposed to be the blow off, but it's not. They're going to keep going, and they're brawling all over the arena, much like the old school Tupelo concession stand brawl, right?
Yeah, this is what this building or this town is what made those outside of the ring brawls famous. And now they're not going to go to here necessarily to a concession stand, but they're using the trash can and anything they can. There's another trash can, anything they can find. And the good news for Doug Dellinger and his crew that they're kind of staying away from the fans using those trash cans, because so much could happen. So many bad things can happen. And that's where Doug and the security was really, really cautious about. Well, fans love it, and the fans will cheer. But I can tell you right now, one of the fans takes a stumble and turns an ankle, and there's going to be a lawsuit. But let's not talk about that now. Let's talk about using the cable. How about that, man? A lot of fire in Diamond Dallas Page as well.
It's good stuff, man. This angle was done so well, and this feud was done so well that it was one of those deals where you started to think, man, maybe there really is some heat there. This
right.
it was done so believably that it's the old Valentine deal of, hey, you may not believe everything, but you're going to believe me,
Right.
and that's what these guys are really doing here. I mean, as a kid, I felt like this was can't miss. And I know they went on to win Feud of the Year in a lot of magazines and newsletters, and I think they deserved it. And Macho Man really made him here. And there's a famous story that allegedly, on this night, Macho Man was talking to some of the agents in the back, and I believe Arn Anderson was one of them. And he says something like, "Hey, so what do you want to do tonight?" Because I guess they sort of ran everything through Savage, and he had earned that respect. And allegedly he says, "I think I want to take the diamond cutter tonight." And that was sort of a watershed moment for DDP's career. And Arn and other agents were trying to reiterate to DDP, I hope you realize what a big deal this is, because this is an era where, even though it is the more modern Monday Night Wars era, Macho Man's not losing on TV or pay-per-view very regularly.
Well, he was a pro. And that story continues as when Diamond repeated that story to me, and Diamond said, I literally almost shit my pants when he said that.
Sure.
So for Arn to say, I hope you know how big of a deal this is, it was not lost on Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah. And they're going to go on and have another match at Great American Bash, and then another one at Halloween Havoc. Feud of the year by far, just tremendous stuff. You know, and you could argue that the feud of the year was Hulk Hogan and Sting, but they weren't really touching, you know, until the very end at Starrcade. But here, man, these guys are giving it their all. Really good stuff. And, I found it to be a worthy main event. I know we've talked about, it would have been cool to see the world title here or some other star power, but the story they tell here is really, really good. And I recommend it.
I loved everything the Macho Man did. Always did. Ever tell you the story about me, the Macho Man, and Eric Bischoff?
No.
Okay. So, Randy frequently would come in to the office, and he would come into the office and he would come in and help out with some things or talk to Eric about his character or whatever. And he and Hogan and a bunch of the guys were in one of those boardrooms, and they needed to bounce something off of Bischoff, and they were all like, well, he's on the phone. He's got his door closed. Should we bother him? And of course, now, you know, they're comparing that to Vince when he was in his room, right? When you would never walk in on Vince. So I stuck my head in. I said, what are you guys up to? And they said, well, we got some things we got to kick off Eric or have Eric approve, but he's on the phone. And I said, well, fuck that. I went boom, 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 knocked on the door, and Eric was on the phone. He put the phone down. I said, Savage really needs to talk to you, like right now. He said, let me call you back. And he walked in there. And to that moment, Savage would always say, I like how you work. I like how you think. They did. All these great big time professional wrestlers did not want to bother the boss, but I had the balls enough to go in to bother because they all came from Vince McMahon, where you never bothered him. But Eric was really a little bit more approachable than that. Who got stomped there? Was that David Penzer?
Yes.
Wow.
These guys are pulling out all the stops. You see lots of brawling around the ring. And earlier you saw them using real trash cans with real trash on the inside. And I'm mentioning that because a lot of times in this era, you would see trash cans that didn't have trash in them. And the giveaway was always, there was nothing in the drinks. Well, here there is actually liquid in the drinks, in the cups. Now you might say, what the fuck does that matter? Well, they're running around on concrete in wrestling boots. So when that liquid hits that concrete, holy shit, man, they're slipping and sliding all over the place.
A lot of times those trash cans are underneath the ring too. And as we saw, those trash cans were way out near the concourse.
Right. We should also mention here that, and I know we're having fun with our buddy, but JR's barbecue sauce is actually fucking good. And I know we had a lot of fun with this, but I've actually tried the Chipotle ketchup, and the sweet and spicy mustard, but my favorite is the hot barbecue sauce. I didn't know we had two versions, and I just had the original the first time, but like a year ago, I tried the hot. It's good stuff. Have you tried any JR stuff?
Yeah, we've got, it's sold at Ingles, grocery stores around the metro Atlanta area.
Yeah.
And I go in all the time and get his main event mustard because it's got a little jalapeno in it. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Well, you can pick them up online, and he even does international shipping at JR's BBQ. That's JRSBARBQ.com, and just click on barbecue got sauce at the top. and then you'll see where you can buy the beef jerky, which apparently never fucking expires. And, you can also get the sauce, the seasoning, lots of cool stuff. But my jam is the ketchup, the mustard, and the hot sauce, because I like the hot stuff, yo.
Yeah, well, he knows we have fun on this show. I mean, I hope he knows.
Oh, of course.
Most people know.
Listen,
come
on, and, we're having fun. We're trying to make you laugh. Hopefully you get it. And something that I got for sure was that this match told a great story. Meltzer agreed, 3.25 stars. Here's what he would write about it. Even though the pre-match hype listed the Four Corners match as the main event, this was given the main event trappings: Michael Buffer on last, most elaborate ring entrances, etc. Both worked hard because at this point the show was a total blah, and it was a good move putting them on last, so at least the fans would leave with a good main event. Both worked real hard, with Savage looking the best he has in a long time, and Page really getting the timing of when to make his moves down impressively. Kimberly was even very impressive in her role, particularly the way she sold Savage was about to attack her, as in she has overreacted a lot in the past. Savage used the chair that Michael Buffer was sitting on and then attacked Dave Penzer and used the chair on Page and slapped around and stomped Penzer. Let's fast forward to the finish here. Savage went after Kimberly and was about to punch her. The entire audience at this point was looking to the ceiling, because they had spent the entire show teasing that Sting was going to be there. This left the show on a flat note because they didn't deliver on the tease, so it made no sense to tease it. It wound up with Bischoff trying to stop Savage from hitting Kimberly, so Savage threw down and hit Bischoff as the show went off the air, with Bischoff again being listed in the final credits as the senior vice president of WCW, something in the storyline he's supposed to have been removed from many weeks back. 3.25 stars. What do you remember about this match and the way it was put together? And I mean, what are your feelings? Cause you watched it earlier this week as well. Is this worthy of a main event?
Yeah, to me, it was the main event. I know what we needed to promote and what we were told to promote, but this was the main event. Because listen, if you think about it, am I wrong to say that the Macho Man Randy Savage was the biggest star that appeared in this show that night?
No, you're not wrong.
Right. So this was the main event. And look at the fans. You talked about the fans believing it.
Right.
They believe it. You can tell the way they're standing around. They believe this. And now they react. Look at this, to the Diamond Cutter. Man, that thing was over as it could be. Look at him standing up. Great shit, man.
Chat me up. Should you guys have teased Sting here? Because it does feel like some of the crowd is probably disappointed that they don't see Sting.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean tease Sting here?
Well, I mean,
did we tease Sting?
I think a lot of the fans in the crowd probably have an expectation.
Right. Because that's kind of what way we've programmed him. But so maybe he should have appeared, but his thing was Hulk Hogan, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, to have him get involved in this match, to me, would not have made any sense. But he was their big hero, so they always were going to look to the sky and try to get him involved.
Well, I mean, at this point, he was really anti-NWO. We didn't know for sure. I mean, we haven't done the J.J. Dillon, I'm going to give you a match with this guy from the NWO. I'm going to give you a match with that guy from the NWO. Hey, let me run through this.
Wow.
It would be reported in the dirt sheets that Savage suffered what at press time was believed to have been torn ligaments in his ankle, probably in the match with Diamond Dallas Page at the pay-per-view on April 6th. The theory is that he may have blown the ankle doing a signature leap off the top rope with a double sledge spot. He didn't feel a thing in the ring or the rest of the night, but woke up in intense pain at 7 a.m. the next morning. He was supposed to see the doctor on Tuesday, April 8th to find out the extent of the injury, but it is believed he'll be out of action for several months. When did you first know about his injury here?
Well, we knew about his injury the very next day.
He didn't sort of kayfabe it. It was public knowledge. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what plans would have changed as a result of the injury?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, let's do some questions as we're waiting for Nick Patrick to run down to the ring here. I'd like to ask you some questions that we got on Twitter and on Facebook from some of our WHW listeners. I'll rapid fire these as we're getting ready for the inevitable diamond cutter, as we see Kevin Nash sort of watching on. And I think everybody is ready for this fucking show to end. And here we go. Bang!
And the reaction of the fans.
Huge reaction. And it's sort of an interesting time here because we very clearly established Nick Patrick is the heel referee. He's still got the heel look, sun's out, guns out. And DDP takes four fucking ever to crawl over to Macho Man, turn him over, barely throw his limp body over him. And reluctantly, Nick Patrick slides down, but then counts and emphatically counts to 3, seemingly showing that maybe he's not so bad, because not only does he count to 3, he comes in and raises DDP's hand, and Kevin Nash has seen enough. This is not going the way he expected.
Well, this all set up by Nick Patrick getting angry and walking out along with Ted DiBiase in that somewhat of a tag team match, if you will. And now Bischoff and the troops coming down, and by God, we're going to have trouble within the NWO. And that's the storyline we're leaving you with. Trouble within the NWO, and how is it going to play out tomorrow on WCW Monday Nitro? And there's Mike Jones.
Who?
The fuck? They always bring him in.
Who?
Mike Jones.
So Kevin Nash trying to revive the Macho Man here with one hand, and with the other, he's got Nick Patrick by the collar. Miss Elizabeth, not tickled, strutting around the ring apron, and Eric Bischoff sort of trying to direct traffic from just outside the ring. Let's get to some questions on Facebook here. Are you ready? Let's do some rapid fire ones.
Ready to go.
Rick wants to know, bigger hog, Mongo or the Giant?
The Giant. Absolutely.
Dusty wants to know, did Tony ever play with Mongo's Pepe?
Yes, I did. I stroked it and rubbed it.
Joe wants to know, does Tony have any good bar fight stories, or better yet, has Lois been in any bar fights?
No, she wasn't any bar fights, but I'm telling you, she's, as you know, she's a pretty tough broad.
So we see Macho Man pick Kimberly up by the hair here, and Eric Bischoff is pleading with Macho Man, hey, stop this. Let's not do this. And Macho Man rears back. Bischoff grabs the hand, doesn't want to see him strike Elizabeth. Macho Man's freaking out a little bit. Freak out. And I suppose the story you were sort of referencing earlier of, we're trying to show some kinks in the armor, so to speak, for the NWO is true. And you see Macho Man look around to the sky. A lot of fans are wondering, when's he coming down? Where is Sting? But instead of Macho Man attacking Kimberly, he pushes down Eric Bischoff. Bischoff jumps back up, and then Kevin Nash stops Savage from assaulting Eric Bischoff. So all of a sudden, we've got some major dissension, and you're going to wrap things up here.
Yeah, and this is how it all went kind of short and everything, and we're going to wrap it up. Look, I thought the Macho Man was going to slap Kimberly. I really did. I did. Not that I thought that was in the storyline, but I expected that to happen. So here, me, Heenan, and Dusty are going to wrap up the show. And we talked about mistiming the show. We still got 3 minutes in the fucking show. How does this happen? I can't answer that. But of course, the good news is what my seat was not as high the first time, and it is higher now than both of them this time. I thought it looked pretty good here. Got any more questions for me?
Of course I do. Let's get back to the questions. And of course, if you'd like to ask a question next week, I can't believe this is real. We're going to break Tony in on some ECW. That's right. We're going to cover ECW's barely legal pay-per-view from April of 1997. No, this is not a rib. No, it's not April Fool's. Yes, we're actually doing it. And if you want to ask a question, cruise on over and ask it on Facebook or on Twitter. Either way, it's WHW Monday. Landon wants to know, which of the 3 Savage DDP matches is your favorite and why?
This is my favorite because of the Diamond Cutter. and because it came out of a very good angle, and because it saved a shitty pay-per-view, kind of.
I agree. Jay wants to know, if Klondike Bill was the agent for a concession stand match, what would the stands be stocked with?
It would be stocked with porn. It would be stocked with dildos. It would, if I could say that. It would be stocked with inflatable dolls.
Matt wants to know, what was the funniest thing Mongo ever did backstage?
Did you cut me off from my Klondike Bill thing?
Dustin wants to know, did Savage or Bischoff get heat after Savage grabbed Kimberly by the hair?
No.
Emmanuel wants to know, did WCW offer any refunds after this pay-per-view?
No. Why?
Matt wants to know,
because you didn't like it?
What was the funniest thing Mongo did backstage?
Funny things Mongo did backstage? I don't really know of any. There's a story about me and Mongo and Gene Okerlund in the Orlando Ale House one time that I don't think I should tell.
Is this where you were all sort of drawing straws by who's going to get it?
Yeah.
And did you draw the big straw?
Yeah.
Well,
but I took a powder.
Tony Schiavone drip, go on a bitch. Bill wants to know, was anybody else considered to be a horseman other than Mongo? I feel like he was just a plan B because WCW couldn't get a bigger name. If there was a bigger name available, do you feel that Mongo would have ended up a mid-carder as a wrestler? On another note, thanks for coming back to tell more tales of WCW. It really makes my world go by faster listening to you and Conrad.
Well, thank you for that. That really means a lot to me. And we've talked to so many people that saying so many good things about what we do, and I appreciate that. I agree. I think if there would have been a bigger star to be a horseman, maybe Mongo would have been a mid-carder.
He wasn't.
You could have thought maybe the Macho Man Randy Savage could have been a horseman, but in his makeup and his being the crazy man, he probably wouldn't have made a good one.
Josh wants to know, why was Doug Dillinger carrying mace on this night? And has Tony ever been sprayed with mace? Well, of course he has.
I've never been sprayed with mace, and he carried with mace because he was head of security. And you're head of security, you carry mace, and you don't carry a gun because we were a gun-free zone.
Colorado wants to know, did Tony ever have to slap around any of the boys backstage to put them in their place?
No. I wouldn't have done anything like that. I wanted many times to slap Evan Courageous. And had I knew that Jamie Noble would be such a bigwig in the WWE right now, I would have slapped his sawed off ass around too.
Let me ask you this. You just referred to him as Evan Courageous, and I don't think that's his full name.
It's not? Oh yeah. It's nothing happening, Evan Courageous, right?
There you go. That's right.
Thank you.
Charm City Center wants to know, what could have been a fantastic match, Medusa versus Akira Hokuto, was limited to approximately 4 or 5 minutes. Why were the women given so little time to work?
And who's this from? Was this from Medusa? This tweet?
Charm City Center. Luke Dorsch.
Yeah. Sorry, Luke.
Hey, who did Medusa wrestle on this pay-per-view?
I don't remember.
The booking committee.
Akira Hokuto.
Well, I would have also accepted the booking committee. Joe wants to know, Tony, do you have any good Waffle House stories? Yes,
I do.
I'd love to hear it.
Heenan and I loved going to Waffle House, and we loved, do you know the secret ingredient that Waffle House uses? You know what it's called?
No.
Okay.
Hepatitis.
We know this. It's called Flavor Fry. All right. And Heenan loved the fact that they ladled Flavor Fry over everything. They ladled it in their grits. They put it on top of their hash browns. They cooked in it. It was this goopy yellow substance that was probably terrible for you, but it was just wonderful. It was a fat man's dream. So one time, Heenan and I, because we love Flavor Fry so much, we wanted to get a can of Flavor Fry. Well, they wouldn't sell it to us. And I said, okay, I don't really want the Flavor Fry. I want the can. I want a can to put on my mantle to say that I've had a whole can of Flavor Fry. So Heenan and I went dumpster diving in the back
Oh my God.
of a Waffle House looking for a empty can of Flavor Fry, and we could not find it. We stayed out there for a good 20, 25 minutes. That's my Waffle House story. And see, unlike Chris Rock, who's in the Hall of Fame, motherfucker, Kid Rock, I didn't start a fight in the Waffle House. I just dumpster dove.
I used to have a deal at Waffle House where I would try to talk my way into the name tag. So, they always have, like, yours would say Tony, proud service since 1997 or whatever.
Right.
I just think that's cool. And so it became a game with me and my friends for like a year whenever we would go to Waffle House to try to do whatever it took to get them to take their name tag off and hand it to us. And then it was like a game to see who could get the oldest one. And so I think I won, and I ran across a lady in Jacksonville, Florida, who had been at Waffle House for 31 years.
My God.
I know. I was like, I can't believe this is even a fucking thing. So I had to do it. And I think I wound up paying $20 for it, but I won the game.
Wow. That's better than Flavor Fry.
I've never even heard of Flavor Fry, but when I threw it in my Google machine, it suggested Waffle House. So I know that you didn't make that up. So
no,
we
loved it.
You may not remember the booking committee, but you remembered fucking Flavor Fry. So
yeah.
Tony,
He and I used to eat all that shitty stuff. We used to eat Vienna sausages and potted meat and bologna.
you're a gross motherfucker. Can I just say?
We did. Yeah. And Heenan said one time we were talking with Okerlund, we were in the car and Heenan said, we like potted meat and we like, Vienna sausages. And Okerlund said, yeah, when you were younger, did you used to eat large sandwiches? I went, no. He said, I did. And I used to eat buttermilk and, buttermilk and brown sugar sandwiches. And I used to say no. And then Heenan said, well, we used to live off of potted meat and Vienna sausages and Spam. We love that too. And he said, look at us. We turned out okay. I said, yeah, we're fat pieces of shit. And so we liked all the kind of junk food. So Flavor Fry was like the holy grail of junk food for us. And we needed a can of that and we never got it. So if any of you out there knows how to get a can, it doesn't need to have the Flavor Fry in it.
So here's
how
the
to
deal.
get a can of Flavor, get it to us.
If you come up with $1,000 and a can of Flavor Fry, take the damn money. You get Lois Schiavone.
It's the best condiment on God's green earth.
Tony, this is our worst show ever. We had to do it in 19 takes. It's the most frustrating. We're never doing this at night in a fucking thunderstorm ever again. But when I look at the clock, I can't help but feel a little excited because I know it's about that time.
And now as Schiavone and Heenan are in the bottom of the dumpster in back of the Waffle House in Jacksonville, Florida, jumping in for the save is Conrad Thompson. He's scrambling around in the bottom. He is looking for someone's name tag. What in the fuck's, oh my God, on top is Lois Schiavone. Here she comes. She's got a glass of moonshine whiskey in her hand. She jumps on the back of Conrad Thompson. Here comes Tommy Young in to make the count. 1, 2, he falls. He slips on Flavor Fry and all the load of grits on the bottom of the dumpster. We are out of time. See you next week on one fucked up edition of What Happened When Monday on the MLW Radio Network.
Emotional consideration paid for by Old Commentary Ninja. You buy t-shirt at loisrules.com before I die. Hi. Also by the WWE Producers Room backstage, also known as a modern-day nursing home for old fuckers.